Hey guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. Today we will see what if Naruto sucked into seal and get godlike power. If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments. It had been 5 months since the end of the 4th grade shinobi war. Now, not only Konoha are peaceful as ever, but the relations between Konoha and the other villages had improved greatly. With the combined force of the shinobi alliance, they finally managed to beat Madara and the Jubi. But still, many sacrifices had been made from the war, even the one who started the war itself, Obito. Thanks to Naruto, Obito realized the error of his ways and can finally live and fight as Obito Uchiha, not as the imposter Madara Uchiha. He killed the Spiral and White Zetsu, and later killed himself while bringing Black Zetsu along with him. Many Konoha shinobi died because of the war, several honorable mentions such as Neji, the prodigy of the Hyuga clan. Neji died protecting Hinata and Naruto, taking the Jubi attack all by himself. He died smiling, finally free from the cage that bound him. Konoha also lose Guy, the green, now red beast of Konoha in the war. He died activating the 8th gate, and fought bravely against the Jubi-absorbed Madara. He managed to land his strongest technique, Night Moth, and managed to break one of Madara's defense, which resulting in his defeat in the hands of Naruto and Sasuke. Speaking of them, they're the ones who managed to beat Madara with the power given from Hagoromo. The Sage of Six Paths himself with Naruto unlocked a stronger version of the Biju cloak, and Sasuke used the perfect Susanoo. Naruto, with the help of Tenten who had the Benihasago, sealed Madara inside the gourd, ending his reign of destruction. Unfortunately, this let the Jubi become rampant, making it more destructive. But alas, the powered-up Naruto managed to temporarily unleash all of the Biju's power inside his body and fought the Jubi. With the power of the bonds he had with his friends, he succeeded in defeating the Jubi, sealing it on the moon and never to be released again. Because of his contribution, Naruto was regarded as the heroes of the elemental nation. Right after the war, Naruto and Sasuke immediately fought their destined battle at the Valley of the End. Both of them fought with all of their power, but after fighting for 2 days straight, Naruto managed to land the final blow with a clean Rasengan to Sasuke's gut, successfully bringing him back to Konoha. When Sasuke and his group, which consist of Orochimaru, Kabuto, Karen, Jugo and Suigetsu, returned to Konoha, most people glare and look at them in disgust. But several of the shinobi who fought in the war bow politely at Sasuke, knowing his help in defeating Madara. Most of them were kept under probation while Orochimaru and Kabuto were executed, with both of them fully accepted their deaths. When Sasuke thought that nobody would get close to him anymore, Naruto and the rest of Rookie 9 get close to him and fully forgive him and accepted him for what he had done. But due to his guilt, he pushed them away, saying that he needed no bonds. This resulted in him getting punched severely by both Naruto and Sakura. His teammates explained to him that they knew about the truth of his family massacre and told him to not live in guilt anymore. Sasuke was extremely touched by his friends' words. Even after everything he had done, they still accepted him. This caused him broke down crying while kneeling down and begging for their forgiveness, which earned him a comforting hug from Sakura and a pat on the shoulder from Naruto. With this, the Uchiha's curse of hatred is finally gone. Since then, his bonds with his friends had improved greatly. He actually bowed down and asked for all of his friend forgiveness. He is also extremely close to Naruto now. He can even call him his best friend without shame. Thus, Konoha is now peaceful again, under the rule of the new Hokage. Kuso. Who would have though Ba-chan actually give the role of Hokage to Kakashi-sensei and not Mititi Ibeo? Dobi, of course not. Nobody wants to be ruled under a stupid Hokage such as you. Shut up, Teme. At least I have a high chance be the next Hokage after Kakashi-sensei, unlike you. Currently, our two heroes are inside Training Field 7, experimenting Naruto's new Fuinjutsu while bickering as usual. Sasuke was dressed in a blue t-shirt with the Uchiha crest behind it. He wore black civilian pants and is barefooted. Naruto is wearing a black t-shirt with an orange swirl behind it, representing the Uzumaki symbol. He was also wearing orange shorts and is barefooted. I'm pretty sure Kakashi will not be stupid enough to give the role to you. I don't want Konoha to be known for their ramen instead of their diplomatic power. Sasuke said while smirking. Hey, Don't insult the food of gods, you tomato-loving freak. Naruto shouted. What the hell is wrong with eating tomatoes? You know what, arguing with you is a waste of time. Sasuke said while glaring at him. Yeah whatever, so Sasuke, I had just created the Uzumaki dimension crossing seal, Datbayo. What are your opinions about Ateme? Shall we test it now? Naruto said while pointing at the large and complicated seal on the ground. To be honest, I can't believe you actually created a seal as risky as this. We might die if the seal has even the slightest mistake. Even if we manage to cross another dimension, we have no guarantee that we can get back to our dimension again. Sasuke said while shaking his head. And why the heck would you like to cross dimension anyway? But we can always repeat using the seal to get back to our dimension again, Ibeo. After all, I'm bored with nothing to do after the war. All those missions are too easy for my standards. Naruto, what will your friends think if we both suddenly gone missing? In case you had forgotten, I'm still under probation. But Sasuke tilde, I'm sure they will not notice if we just go for a while tilde. No, and that is final. Sasuke said and proceeded to walk back to his house. Hey Sasuke, wait, what about the seal? Naruto shouted and used a tiny bit of chakra on his feet to get closer to his best friend. Unfortunately, the tiny bit of chakra is enough to activate the seal on the ground. The seal started to glow brightly, blinding the vision of both of the boys. Dobi, what the hell did you just do? Sasuke shouted while covering his eyes. Shit, I accidentally activated the seal. But don't worry, if we're not on the seal we're safe. Naruto shouted back to his friend. They both looked at their feet simultaneously, and paled. They immediately tried to move their legs, but unfortunately the seal doesn't allow them to. Naruto, please remind me to warn you about the risk of creating an overly large seal after this, okay? Sasuke said while glaring daggers at his friend. It's not my fault my handwriting sucks Ibeo tilde. The blonde said while flailing his arms. Suddenly the seal glowed brighter, and both of them can feel their consciousness fading. Before they faint however, they both thought simultaneously. Shit, Ibeo. And the seal proceeded to suck the both of them. Tsukune Aono was an unlucky human. Apparently, his parents got a pamphlet to send him to a school called Yokai Academy. He boarded a bus with a creepy driver who had glowing eyes. When he had gotten there, he realized that the scenery had greatly changed after the bus got out of the weird tunnel. On the way to school, he met an extremely beautiful pink-haired girl named Mocha Akashiya that bumped her bicycle to him, not so unlucky after all. After she had told him she is a vampire, and proceeded to suck his blood. Despite that, they quickly made friends with each other. During the class, he was horrified to know that the academy was actually for monsters and any humans who were found will be killed. At the same time he was happy because Mocha seems to like him very much, despite being a bit clingy. Unfortunately, he learned that she hated human. Heartbroken, he decided to leave the academy by waiting at the bus stop. Mocha found him there and he proceeded to tell her that he is a human. Suddenly, Saizo Komiya came out and told them that he wanted Mocha all by himself. He transformed into his true form, an orc, and smashed Tsukune into a tree, leaving him bruised and battered. When he was told by Mocha that she don't mind him being human, he accidentally took off the rosary attached on her necklace. Mocha's form changed greatly because her hair turned silver and her breast became larger too, and apparently this is her true form, a vampire. She then proceeded to beat the shit out of Saizo, which led us to the current situation. After sending the orc flying with a kick, she walks toward him in an extremely intimidating manner. Tsukune was sweating bullets, fearing that she would hurt him. Suddenly the ground between the two glowed brightly, making them cover their eyes with their hands. When Sasuke opened his eyes, he noticed that he was lying on the ground. He stood up and saw that the sky was dark and the sea was blood red. After standing properly, he noticed that there is a plain brown-haired boy lying in front of him with his eyes bulging out. While he was looking at the boy, he almost didn't notice there was a punch coming from behind him, almost. He quickly spun around and grabbed the wrist of the hand which was aiming for him. He noticed that the offender was a silver-haired girl with red eyes with a slit. He also sensed that this girl is also not a normal human, since she was aiming her killing intent at him. Probably high chunin to low junin level, not bad. The girl was surprised to see somebody that can easily evade her punch and even managed to grip her wrist firmly. Impossible for someone to easily dodge my punch. She then snarled. Who are you and what are you doing here? I'm not so sure myself, but based on your outfit I can safely assume that I'm in different dimension, he said while smirking slightly. He noticed the covering boy behind him, and glared at the girl. Are you by any chance trying to hurt him? For a short while, both of them were silent while staring at each other's eyes. Then, Mocha released her hand from the guy's grip and crossed her arms. Why would I hurt a puny human? I am more prideful than that. She then moved past him and walked towards Tsukune. She snatched the rosary from his hand and said to him, my other self believe in you, and I don't want you to break her heart again, do you hear me? Tsukune nodded frantically. She then placed the rosary around her neck, not before giving Sasuke a last look. Her features returned to the way they were before, and quickly passed out in Tsukune's arms. Sasuke raised his brows at the display before looking at the boy who was currently staring at him. The boy slowly opened his mouth. Thank you for trying to protect me I guess? Although the girl was actually protecting me. The boy said while stuttering. My name is Tsukune Iono. Nice to meet you. Sasuke slowly let a smirk crept up on his lips, before replying the boy. Sasuke. Uchiha Sasuke. It's a pleasure to meet you, Aono-san. Now can you please tell me where the heck are we now? So let me get this straight. This place is called Yokai Academy, which is an academy specially made for monsters disguised as humans. The purpose of this academy is to learn how to coexist with them. Yet they'll also kill any human in this school. Apparently, you're a human who was accidentally transferred here by mistake and this girl, Mocha Akashiya, is a vampire. And what do we learn in this academy? Sasuke asked. Currently, our hero and Tsukune were walking back to Yokai Academy while the passed-out Mocha was being carried bridal style by Sasuke. Tsukune wanted to carry her but Sasuke pointed out that he was injured and cannot risk hurting himself. On the way there, Tsukune explained to him the nature of the school and confessed that he was a human and Mocha was a vampire. Tsukune observed that his dark-haired companion was probably older than him and was quite tall. Well yeah, that's the gist of it I guess. He then paused for a bit. Wait, what do you mean you don't know? What do we learn in school? It's a place where we learn the usual stuff, you know, math, science. He half shouted at his companion. So the academy here is like the ninja academy, only they don't teach us Konoha's history and how to throw a shuriken. Interesting. Sasuke thought to himself. Nope, unfortunately I had never been in this type of academy before. He said flatly. Geez, oh yeah, that reminds me. Where did you come from, Uchiha-san? You don't seem to know the culture of this world, and you dress weirdly too? Tsukune asked while looking at him warily. Sasuke glanced at his apparently weird shirt and sighed. You could say that I was sent here by an idiot of a friend. And yes, in the place where I'm from we don't learn all these things. Now let's hurry up to the infirmary already, my feet is hurting from all the steps. He said and started to walk faster. His companion also quickened his step to catch up with him. When they reached the school, many of the students can be heard whispering about the new stranger. Why was the brown-haired dude bruised and why was Mocha unconscious in the stranger arms? There were also several female students who gasped and blushed after looking at the stoic Uchiha. I just got here and there are already fangirls. Sasuke mumbled and urged Tsukune to show him where the infirmary was. After reaching the infirmary, the nurse quickly told him to put Mocha on a bed while she treated Tsukune injuries. She also told Sasuke to wait outside the room. He was leaning against the wall outside the infirmary when he suddenly saw a bright green light surrounding him and immediately knew that this was some kind of transportation technique. He just closed his eyes, knowing that his sudden appearance would make anybody suspicious, and this was one of the things he had to face. When he opened his eyes, he saw that he was in a place that looks like the Hokage office. He also noticed there was a large desk in front of him and a hooded figure sitting behind the desk. He had glowing eyes and was staring at him. Human, may I ask you where are you from and what are you doing in my school? The figure asked slowly, but his voice had a hint of hostility in it. Sasuke stared back at the hooded figure passively. He can sense the amount of power this person had and slowly said. Would you believe me if I said I'm from a different dimension? He asked the figure. I'm really gonna kill Naruto when I meet him again. The figure was silent for a while, before slowly replying, the dark-haired Uchiha. As crazy as that sounds, I believe in you. Sasuke looked slightly surprised, but quickly regained his composure. I can sense that you're no ordinary human, since no human can possess this much power, although I'm not sure if your intentions being here is good or not. True enough, the figure can sense that this boy was incredibly powerful, maybe as strong, if not stronger than him. Sasuke smirked. You could say that I was accidentally transported here by my idiot best friend. I have no idea where am I now either. Very well, I sense no ill intent coming from you. The figure was quiet for a moment, before continuing. If so, then what are you planning on doing now? The figure asked again. Sigh, only my friend know the seal, I'll just have to wait for him here until he come and transport us back to our home. Sasuke said while rubbing his temple. Since he gotten here, he can't sense Naruto's chakra anywhere, and usually Naruto can be easily sensed because of his large and potent chakra. He also assumed that his friend is probably in some other dimension. Naruto did say to him that if more than one person used the seal at once, there was a high chance that they will got separated into different dimensions. For now he'll just have to wait until Naruto reached here, which means his friend must draw the seal and use it over and over again until he arrived at this current dimension. The figure suddenly spoke. If so, then perhaps you would be interested in enrolling in this academy? I'm sure you don't have a place to stay, you can stay in the boys' dormitory if you become a student here. That is an interesting offer, since I have nothing better to do, might as well accept the invitation. The purpose of the seal was to find something interesting to do anyways. Sasuke thought. Sure, I must learn the human culture in here to fully understand this place after all. He spoke calmly. Then from now on, you're a first year at Yokai Academy. I'm sure you have no problem with it, correct? Sasuke just nodded, knowing that he must learn the easier things first if he wants to advance to second year, as Tsukune called it. Here's your key. The figure threw a set of keys to Sasuke, which he caught effortlessly. Your new uniform and schedule will be inside your room when you got there. Now go, I shall not waste your time any longer. The figure said. Sasuke turned around to leave, before the figure spoke again. May I know your name, boy? The Uchiha glanced over his shoulder and smirked. Sasuke. Uchiha Sasuke. He then exited the room and proceeded to find his way to the dormitory while ignoring the looks the other students were giving him and avoiding some of the girls. Back in the headmaster office, Tenmei Mikagami grinned. Sasuke Uchiha. I wonder what kind of wonders will happen with you in here. When Sasuke reached his room, he immediately went out to scout the school while thinking what kind of place he had gotten himself into. He was also finding a place where he can train himself to keep his skills sharp. After finding a suitable training ground, he returned to his room and lied down on his bed. I wonder what happened to the human and that vampire, I'm too tired to think anymore, might as well go to sleep. He then proceeded to catch some Z's, while mumbling about tomatoes. Tsukune was sitting on his seat in his class, room 103, while waiting for his class teacher to come. He already explained to Mocha about what had happened yesterday and was currently wondering about the mysterious Sasuke Uchiha while gazing out of the window. I wonder what happened to him. He disappeared right after sending us to the infirmary. Tsukune was brought out of his thought when he felt someone tapping on his shoulder from behind. He turned around to see Mocha looking at him worriedly. Tsukune, are you alright? You had been spacing out like that since this morning. Mocha asked. Ah, don't worry Mocha-san. I was just thinking about the boy I talked about yesterday. Tsukune said while smiling at her. If you say so? She said while frowning slightly. Suddenly, the classroom door opened and their class teacher, Ms. Nekonome, came in while smiling brightly as usual. She turned towards the class and said happily. Everyone, today we will have a new student in our class, which is weird since we just started school yesterday, Nian. Please come in Uchiha-san. Tsukune quickly looked at the door. Uchiha? You don't mean? Suddenly, a familiar black-haired individual entered the class and closed the door behind him. He walked beside the teacher and faced the class. He was dressed in the usual school uniform except that he left the blazer open, revealing the dress shirt underneath it. Almost all of the girls drooled when they saw his lean muscular body and blushed when they looked at his extremely handsome face. The teenager then crossed his arm and started to speak. Sasuke Uchiha. Don't bother me if you want to enjoy your school lives peacefully. At this point, most of the girls already have hearts on their eyes, some even fainted. While all of the guys openly glared at him for being arrogant yet popular. Kya, I think he just looked at me, so cool tilde. His eyes are so mesmerizing, is this love? Who does that jerk think he is, acting all high and mighty? Even the girls are drooling over him, what the hell? The whispers continued to grow louder. Tsukune, is that the guy you talked to me about? Mocha asked him. Why yeah, I didn't know he will become our classmate, that's weird. Tsukune said while eyeing the Uchiha. Ms. Nekonome cleared her throat and the class quieted down. Uchiha-san, why don't you sit over there? She said while pointing to an empty seat beside a light blue-haired girl wearing a yellow sweater. Sasuke nodded and started to walk to his seat. He noticed Tsukune was smiling at him while Mocha was waving at him slightly. He just ignored them and sat down on his seat. He noticed that the girl beside him had one of the largest pair of breasts he had ever seen. Said girl was currently grinning at him brightly, only to be ignored by the stoic Uchiha. He didn't even look at me. Most guys would already drool when I smile at them. Kurumu Kurono thought to herself and huffed when the hot but arrogant new student ignored her attempt on being friendly with him. No matter. He would likely be the same as the other guys when I use my charm on him. For now, I'll just charm all the weaker and obedient ones first. Kurumu grinned while plotting her plan in her mind. Sasuke-san sure is a serious person, right Tsukune? Mocha asked her friend while glancing at the said Uchiha. Yeah, I had never even seen him smile properly before. He replied, remembering the only time he actually seen the Uchiha smile was when he introduced himself, and he was only smirking. Maybe we can invite him to lunch later Mocha-san. Tsukune said to the pinkette. Sure, Tsukune, she answered happily. And will you please let me suck your blood? He just sweat drop and nodded. During the class, Sasuke easily grasped all the teacher's explanation. He isn't the rookie of the year back then for nothing. He noticed that the class was very similar to the Ninja Academy, although they teach some subjects such as math that was probably useless to him. When lunch came, Tsukune and his vampire friend invited him to have lunch with them. Might as well have some company, I had been a loner for too long. He thought. They then walked out the class together, with many of the guys glaring at him and Tsukune while the girls were glaring at Mocha for being with their Uchiha-sama. The food in the canteen was bizarre to say at least. There were normal human food in one side, but there were also creepy and disgusting food on another side. Of course he took the normal human food. He also keep a piece of meat inside his pocket to test something later. Sasuke-san, thank you for sending me to the infirmary yesterday. My name is Mocha Akashiya, nice to meet you. Mocha said while smiling brightly at the stoic Uchiha. Sasuke Uchiha. And welcome. So Sasuke-san, I didn't know you would enroll in this school. You did say that the place you came from doesn't have all these kind of things. Can I ask where did you originate from? Tsukune asked. I came from a small village which is cut off from the society. That's why I don't know much about all of this culture. He lied while maintaining his blank face. Tsukune and Mocha both nodded, believing the lie, and talked with him until lunch ended. They then returned to their class. Overall, the day had been good. He already considered Tsukune and Mocha as his acquaintances, not friends yet since he still didn't know much about them. He and Tsukune returned to their dorm together while making idle chit-chats, although the brown-haired boy did most of the talking. He did stop for a while to buy some shirts and training pants at the local convenience store near the dorm. When Sasuke reached his room, he took off his outfit and dressed in a plain black t-shirt and black pants he bought earlier. He proceeded to do all the homework his teachers gave diligently. After finishing his rather easy homework, he then did some push-up and stretches until it reached nighttime. When he noticed the sky had gone dark, he opened the window and jumped out of it. He then jumped from tree to reach the open field he found while scouting the school the previous night. After landing on his new training ground, he immediately created 6 shadow clones. He can't create as many as Naruto, so 6 is good enough. 2 of you will train on my blaze release. Another 2 will spar each other in the Uchiha's interceptor fist. Kami knows how much I need to work on my taijutsu again. The last 2 will attack me with your swords. Now go. Thus, the clones started to train while the original Sasuke summoned Sword of Kusanagi from the seal on his left palm and started to dodge and parried all the clones' attack. When it reached midnight, He slashed the two clones lightning quick and dispelled all the other clones, getting their knowledge and memories. I wonder if I can use my summoning jutsu here. He then do the hand seal and bite his thumb. He then clapped his hand on the ground. Summoning jutsu. Suddenly a small green snake appeared before his eyes. Sasuke-sama, how may I be of service? Sasuke smirked inwardly, looks like summoning jutsu still work after all. I was worried if being in another dimension would prevent me from summoning. Don't worry, just testing if I can do summoning in this new place or not. He took out a piece of meat he gotten from the canteen. Here's a treat for bothering you. Thank you, Sasuke-sama. The green snake said before disappearing in a smoke. He then returned to his room and took off his shirt. He lied down on his bed while thinking about the day. Tsukune and Mocha appears harmless. Well, Mocha is slightly dangerous when she takes off her rosary if what Tsukune said is true. The blue-haired girl beside me had been eyeing me since the class started. No matter, I don't think she's stupid enough to do anything me. He then proceeded to sleep, while cursing Naruto's name several times. A week had passed since Sasuke became a student in Yokai Academy. He was easily excelling in his studies even without prior experience with some of the subjects. He was also the fittest in the gym class, where he learned several sports such as dodgeball, basketball and soccer, which he easily grasped and proceeded to topple down everyone else. He also trained in his private training ground every night, keeping his skills sharp. Thus, he was now the most popular boy in the entire school, and even had a rapidly growing fan club created for him. Most of the girls swooned when they look at him while the boys will glare at him, only to be shrunken when he glared back. The only people he hung out with were Tsukune and Mocha since they don't bother him like everyone else. He can also call them his friends now, after hanging out with them many times and knowing them more. After all, he realized the importance of bonds after being with Naruto for so long. Currently, our hero was sitting cross-legged on the rooftop, meditating. He had wanted some time alone, so he told Tsukune and Mocha that he was gonna rest there. Suddenly, the door to the rooftop opened, and came in the beautiful succubus Kurumu Kurono. Sasuke just opened one of his eyes and raised a brow, before closing it back. What do you want? He asked flatly. Sasuke-kun we had been sitting together for some time now. But you never talked to me. I just want to chat with the most popular boy in the school, that's all. She said while making her way to the black-haired boy. She already planned on charming him before, but he was always staring somewhere else. She also noticed that he only hung out with Tsukune-kun and that girl who everyone loved, Mocha. She then kneeled down directly in front of him and traced circles with her index finger around his chest seductively. Nay, Sasuke-kun open your eyes and look at me, please? He just sighed and opened his eyes to look at hers. Now, Kurumu thought to herself and started to cast her charm on the Uchiha. Meanwhile, Sasuke sensed that his vision was blurring slightly. A genjutsu? You don't use genjutsu on an Uchiha. He smirked inwardly and quickly dispelled the illusion with his Sharingan. Kurumu suddenly jumped on fall on her back. Not only her charm didn't work on him, but his eyes were now red with 3 tomos spinning wildly in it. Overall, it looked incredibly intimidating. What kind of monster is he? Illusions don't work on me, girl. My eyes can see everything. Now tell me, what were you planning on doing? He asked while glaring at Kurumu. She whimpered a bit before retaliating. No matter. You will not understand. She shouted at him, and stomped her way towards the door and shut the door behind her loudly. Sigh, let's see what trouble she is doing. Sasuke mumbled slowly, and silently followed the girl with his awesome ninja skills. Currently, Tsukune and Mocha were walking down the hallway of the school after their class had finished. Sasuke said he was going to sleep at the rooftop, leaving the two of them alone. Tsukune, can you let me suck your blood? It's so delicious too, Mocha said while giving him the puppy dog eyes. But Mocha-san, didn't you just suck my blood this morning? Tsukune your blood is easily the best blood I had ever drink, please? Am I just a food to you? Tsukune said to her. What do you mean, Tsukune? Mocha asked, her smile dropping when she heard his words. Tsukune quickly felt guilty after looking at her face, and proceeded to comfort her. No, Mocha-san, I was just… there you are, Mocha Akashiya. The duo turned around to see a blue-haired girl standing in the middle of the hallway behind them. After her failed attempt on charming the Uchiha, she now planned on charming the guy who held Mocha's attention the most. Who are you? Tsukune asked with a raised brow. I'm Kurumu Kurono, the most beautiful girl in all of Yokai Academy. Kurumu smiled brightly. Hello Kurumu-san. My name is, Mocha words was cut off when the girl suddenly growled. I already know who you are, Mocha Akashiya. You're the reason why my plan to make the entire male population into my harem isn't working. You're stealing their attention, she shouted at her. I am sorry, I have no idea what are you talking about. Mocha said confused. Kurumu then walked closer to Mocha, leaned in and said slowly. I know you're a vampire? Mocha widened her eyes at the statement. And I also noted that Tsukune here has a rather nice smell himself. She smirked. She then whispered, I know that Tsukune here is a human. Tsukune took a step back while Mocha stood protectively in beside him. What makes you so sure he's a human? Kurumu stood in front of her and laughed. Oh please, I know you're just using Tsukune-kun just to suck his blood. She said accusingly. No, of course not. That's not true at all. Admit it, you're just using him for his blood, Mocha Akashiya. No, Tsukune, that's not true at all, believe me. I would never do that to you. Tsukune raised his hand. Girls, please don't fight. I'm sure we can settle this without quarreling each other. Kurumu smiled. Tsukune, I didn't mean to cause all this trouble, but I just don't want her to take advantage of you. She hugged his arm and looked at his eyes. You're a nice person, Tsukune-kun. Tsukune started to feel dizzy, and can't remove his eyes from Kurumu's. Tsukune, are you alright? Mocha asked worriedly. Tsukune looked at Mocha, his vision blurry. I don't know Mocha, with all the blood you keep draining from me. I'm not surprised if I feel a bit ill. He smiled a bit. I think it would be wise for you to stay away from me, Mocha. Tsukune? But I don't know. Kurumu hugged Tsukune's arm affectionately while smirking. Why don't you leave us alone, Mocha? He said it himself, if you keep drinking on his blood, he's bound to fall ill. She looked up to the boy worriedly. Come on Tsukune, let me bring you to the infirmary. Mocha felt her eyes stung as she watched Tsukune walk away with the girl. She was a recent stranger too. She turned around and ran down the hall while tears were flowing down her cheeks. Mocha sat on the bench near the main building. She can't help but wonder if she had really been treating Tsukune as a food source only. Am I really a friend to Tsukune? She said slowly. How naive. Who's there? She looked around, then to the rosary around her neck. I'm in here, the part of you sealed away inside this rosary. Replied the voice. Mocha saw a single glowing red eye in the center of the cross. That girl is a succubus, and her powers involve charming others to become her mindless servants. Tsukune is under her spell right now. Tsukune is under a spell? She then smiled brightly, so that means that she forced Tsukune to say all the words to me. He was just being controlled. Precisely, and if you don't hurry up now, she will kiss him and make him her personal slave. She'll what? Mocha shouted. I understand, I have to hurry now. She then stood up and was starting to dash, but another voice called out for her. Need some help? She turned around and saw Sasuke jump down a tree with his arm crossed and was smirking. Sasuke-san? She asked. I heard the conversation you had with your friend in there. He was quiet for a moment before speaking again. And Mocha, yes? Mocha looked confused. I know that you think maybe you are only friends with Tsukune because of his blood. I say you're wrong. Do you think that all the happy times you had with him was only an act? Of course not, she said angrily. Then don't ever doubt your friendship with him. Sasuke said seriously. He's also genuine in being your friend as you are to him. I know you both like each other. She stared at her feet. Sasuke-san, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have thought of it like that. Mocha said slowly, her eyes tearing up. I promise I wouldn't do it again. Sasuke raised his left hand and called her name. Mocha-san. Yes? She leaned closer to him while sniffing. Poke. Sasuke poked Mocha on the forehead, causing her to rub it with both of her hands cutely. He smiled inwardly at the display. Why did you do that? She said sulking and looked at his eyes. It's a sign of affection. Mocha blushed brightly and stuttered incoherently. Before she could ask what did he meant, he said again. Promise, okay? Sasuke said calmly, while giving her a genuine smile. Her blush greatly intensified, since it's her first time seeing Sasuke smile, as his face was usually emotionless most of the time. Even if he did smile, it was usually a smirk. And she also thought that his smile further increased his charm. "Sasuke-kun, maybe you should smile more often," she said while still blushing. She didn't notice that she changed the honorifics from "san" to "kun." He chuckled, just be lucky you have actually seen me smile. Don't expect to see more of it though." She pouted cutely with her hands on her hips. "With that being said, you can get to the infirmary faster if I give you a ride." Sasuke smirked when he saw the confused expression on her face. "A ride? But how?" Her words was cut off when Sasuke suddenly lifted her bridal style. "Sasuke-kun?" she said while blushing heavily. "Hold on tight." He then started to dash in a speed no normal human or even monster can manage. Sasuke this is too fast," Mocha said while burying her face in the crook of his neck and clutching him like her life depends on it. "You wanna save him, right? So shut up and enjoy the ride," Sasuke said smirking, and proceeded to move faster. Tsukune sat on his bed in the infirmary while shaking his head. He remembered saying to Mocha all those horrible things and saw her running down the hallway. He was now feeling like a major ass. "Oh no, Mocha-san, what have I done?" "Tsukune, I'm sure you're hurting right now." He heard a voice coming from his bedside. "Kurumu-chan?" She was now sitting on his lap, while running a gentle hand through his hair. "It's okay, Tsukune, I'll cure you from your illness," Kurumu said while looking at his eyes again. "It feels like everything is spinning. What with those eyes of her?" Tsukune shouted inwardly while looking at her eyes. "Finally, I managed to get Mocha to cry. Now I only have to kiss Tsukune to make him my personal servant forever." She leaned in close to kiss him when he suddenly pushed her away. "No, I can't do this, I must apologize to Mocha now," Tsukune said. "Impossible, I charmed you and you still resist?" She then grew angry, a pair of leathery wings and a pointed tail sprout out from her back. Tsukune was immediately terrified and started to move away from the enraged succubus. Suddenly, the door burst open and he saw Mocha with Sasuke standing behind her. "Tsukune!" Mocha cried out, and ran towards Kurumu. The two collided, and Mocha showed her strength as a vampire when she pushed her out of the window, although they both fell down together. Tsukune just gaped at what just happened, when suddenly Sasuke lifted him up by his collar, "Go save your friend," and threw him out of the window. Kurumu was swiping her elongated claws at Mocha and Tsukune immediately after he fell down. Tsukune could swear he saw her cut through the tree like they were butter. After dodging another attack from the succubus, they hid behind a tree while Kurumu kept searching for them. "Tsukune, I'm sorry for always feeding on you. Please know that, you're truly my precious person," she said while hugging him. "Aha, there you are." The two looked up and saw Kurumu flying above them. "Tsukune, please take off my rosary now." "Oh okay." He then tried to pull the rosary, but it wouldn't budge. It won't come off," he said frantically. "Mocha, get out of the way." Mocha suddenly hugged him tighter. "It's okay. I don't mind protecting you, at least you'll be safe." "No, this is all my fault." He berated himself. If I didn't fell under Kurumu's charm and said those things to Mocha, this wouldn't have happened. He clenched his fist. "I will not put you in any danger because of me." With a final pull, the rosary came off. "Hey, I knew she would transform, at least I don't need to save them if things gone too far." Sasuke smirked while watching the scene with interest. Mocha's hair immediately changed to silver, and her eyes are now blood red. She then looked at the shivering succubus. Is this the Youkai of a vampire?" Kurumu mumbled to herself. "HMMPH, so you think you can take me on in a fight, little girl?" She then taunted the succubus. "Well, what are you waiting for?" Kurumu growled and shot down to the silver-haired vampire. Mocha easily jumped over her and grabbed her tail before flinging her over her shoulder. Kurumu screamed as she was sent crashing into a tree. "Is this all there is to your power? Using underhanded tactics like hypnosis to charm others? Aside from that and your nails, wings and tail, there's not much to you that's very intimidating." Mocha slowly walked towards the girl. "I'll show you not to mess with a vampire such as myself." "Shut up, you don't know anything about me," Kurumu snapped. "My race is a small one, and among the many we put under our control, we search for our destined one, who we will spend our lives and raise children with." She stood up, trying her best to ignore all the pain shooting throughout her body. You are getting in the way of my search for my destined one, Mocha Akashiya. The vampire scoffed, such a temperamental girl. She then dashed towards the succubus to punch her. Tsukune was already preparing to stop her, but Sasuke beat him to it as he grabbed her left fist in his left palm. She then moved her right leg to kick his head, but he easily used his other hand to grab it. He's obviously not a normal human. He can easily predict my strike and block them effortlessly. He doesn't even flinch from my strike. It's like he had been trained to fight for a long time. Mocha thought as she observed the person in front of her. She then separated herself from him, and quickly launched a barrage of kicks and punches, which he easily blocked and countered with a few light jabs. Mocha noticed that his eyes were red and have 3 tomos in it. After attacking for a while, she flipped backwards, and jumped high in the air to deliver an axe kick to him. Both Kurumu and Tsukune widened their eyes when they saw Mocha's leg was only inches away from Sasuke's head. Before they could warn him, a purple ribcage suddenly surrounded his entire body and easily blocked the attack. All of them widened their eyes at the strange skeletal structure. What is this thing? Even my vampiric strength can't break it, Mocha thought to herself. She quickly flipped back once more, but stopped before she could deliver another punch. She saw that Sasuke's eyes now had 3 intersecting ellipses that resembles an atom model and also had a straightened version of a 3-bladed shuriken shape in its center. That's enough, Sasuke said in a voice that can send shivers down everybody's spine, but not to Mocha. TCH, why are you defending her? After everything she had done? Mocha said while growling. He stayed silent for a while. Yes, even after everything she had done, I'd still defend her. Sasuke said coolly. Kurumu was shocked by the statement. After all, they aren't even close, and she even tried to control him once. Tsukune also joined in. I know what Kurumu-chan did was wrong, but I don't think she meant for it to be like this. Honestly, I don't believe she's a cruel person, just like you, Mocha. Mocha crossed her arms and glared at the both of them. She then walked towards Tsukune and snatched her rosary from his hand. Don't confuse me with my outer self. I'm not anything like my gentle side, and the only reason I protected you because my outer self value your friendship so much. She leaned in closer, not to mention while it isn't the most important thing to her, she does value your blood. She then looked at the Uchiha, and asked, what are you? He smirked, and answered, I'm a shinobi, that's all you need to know. After looking at him on last time, she attached the rosary on her necklace. The rosary snapped into place on it, and the vampire returned to her pink-haired self. She blinked a few times before falling into Tsukune's arms. Is she okay? Kurumu asked, feeling guilty. Don't worry, she's just unconscious. Tsukune smiled at her, but he noticed that she was looking at Sasuke. Why did you save me? It was a whisper, but they both heard it. Why shouldn't I? Sasuke answered back. Why did you almost risk your life to save me? She said louder, she's a vampire, an S-class strength monster. I know how much that punch could hurt. You could have broken your hand. Why did you do all that? She then stared at the ground, just to save me. Tsukune also thought about it. He knew Sasuke was powerful, but didn't think he would have done something as risky as that. He knew how powerful Mocha's punch is after all. Sasuke-san doesn't seem to be the type of person to do that. Based on his personality, he looked like a person that would never give his enemy a second chance. Because you remind me of myself. Kurumu and Tsukune were surprised by his answer. I had done many horrible things before, yet my friend was always chasing me, urging me to redeem myself. He smiled fondly. At first I denied his advances because I thought that I was a lost cause. I even wanted to cut my bonds with him. But in the end, he still forgave me for everything I had done. Well, he did beat the shit out of me though. He chuckled a bit. Tsukune was quite surprised to see Sasuke talked about his past, since he's so secretive. He then looked at Kurumu. What you had done was nothing compared to mine, so don't fret yourself over it. You only wanted to repopulate your race after all. It's not like you were doing something evil, you were just doing it the wrong way. He stopped for a bit. My friend gave me a second chance, and I'll give you one as well. Just promise me that you will never do anything as stupid as that again. He smiled a bit. We can even be friends if you like. Kurumu was surprised by what he just said. She slowly concealed her wings, nails and tail. Although I admit I was not happy you did all this, I feel that we can start over. You're not a bad person after all, Kurumu-chan. And like Sasuke-san just said, we can happily be your friends. Tsukune said while grinning at her. Friends? She smiled a bit. I guess being friends is nice too. She smiled at the both of them. Tsukune rubbed the back of his head sheepishly while Sasuke smirked. Oh, by the way guys, I think I will bring Mocha somewhere else now. Can't have her waking up in the middle of nowhere. See you later Sasuke-san, Kurumu-chan. He said and carried Mocha with her arms draped over his shoulder. After the duo had gone, Kurumu faced Sasuke and said, Thank you for everything, I promise to never charm anyone like that again. She said while bowing down to the Uchiha. Suddenly she saw Sasuke looking at her with some kind of black aura surrounding him. Sasuke-kun? She asked while gulping. Now, for your punishment? He said while activating his Sharingan. He slowly raised his left hand. Kya, don't hurt me please, she said with her eyes closed and her hands clasped together in front of her. Poke. She fell on her butt from the poke on the forehead. She rubbed the spot with a hand and pouted at the Uchiha. Hey, what was that for? No wonder Ni-san liked to do this so much, this is fun. Sasuke chuckled inwardly. Your punishment of course, he said before flashing a smile at her. This caused her face to go red and looked away. He has a nice smile. While she was busy admiring his smile, she didn't realize that the Uchiha was lifting her up and she was now being carried bridal style by him. What are you doing? She said while waving her arms to push him away. You're injured, so shut up and let me bring you to the infirmary. He said coolly. Kurumu blushed and complied. When they reached the infirmary, Sasuke explained that Kurumu hurt herself when she was trying to save a kitten from a tree, much to her chagrin. He then stayed with her beside her bed in the hospital. Nay Sasuke-kun, you said you were a shinobi, which means you are a ninja. But I thought ninjas wear black clothing, cover their face with masks and serve daimyos for money? Kurumu asked the boy curiously. Sasuke, feeling friendly at the moment, answered. I don't know where you get that kind of information, but in my village, none of us ninjas are like that. Although some of us do wear masks, and we also do missions for money, but we only serve the leader of our village. Ooh, Kurumu said, tapping her index finger on her chin. She wanted to ask him about what he meant when he said he had done horrible things before, but felt that it was inappropriate. They then chat for a while until Sasuke took his leave when he realized that it was already getting late. Later that night, Sasuke went back to his dorm and took a hot shower. After that he resumed his usual schedule which includes doing homework and training. He then went to his bed. Today was rather fun, still can't believe I actually making friends now. Hey, I wonder how will Naruto react if he know about this. He smiled inwardly and proceeded to sleep. The next morning, Sasuke woke up after burning the alarm clock with Amaterasu. Served you right, loud metal thing, I can wake up on my own. He then dressed in his usual school uniform and walked out the dorm. When he reached outside, he saw both Mocha and Tsukune were waiting for him near the dorm entrance. He noticed some of Mocha's fan club members hiding behind some of the bushes, a quick glare and all of them scampered away. Hey, Sasuke. Tsukune waved at him happily. Sasuke just raised his hand to greet them. Yo, Sasuke-kun, let's walk to school together. Mocha moved beside him and smiled brightly at him. Sure. Sasuke smiled at her, causing her to blush a bit. Sasuke. Did you just smiled? Tsukune asked with his eyes bulging out. You got a problem? Sasuke stared at him blankly, yet looked intimidating all the same. No of course not. Tsukune said while sweating bullets. Mocha just giggled at the display. Sasuke-kun tilde? A familiar blue-haired figure ran to them and glomped Sasuke, causing both of them to fall down. Kurumu-san, what are you doing? Mocha shouted at her. Tsukune just stood there dumbfounded. Mocha already knew about what had happened yesterday and already forgave Kurumu. That doesn't mean she liked what she was currently doing though. They both stood up. Sasuke was dusting his pants while Kurumu looked at Mocha and said happily, do you remember when I said succubus have their destined one? I began wondering how Sasuke-kun could resist my charm, then I remembered the story my mom told me. When she tried to charm my father, she used all of her spell and incantation, but none of them worked. She tried to court him without using any spells, by dating. After several dates, she finally knew why my father could resist her charms. She then wrapped her arms around Sasuke's neck, although he barely showed any emotion. That was because my father was her destined one. She is way more aggressive than my previous fangirls. Sasuke sighed to himself. Tsukune and Mocha quickly get what she meant, and the pink cat forcefully pulled the succubus away from the black-haired Uchiha. No, how can you be so sure? Mocha fumed at her. Kurumu smirked. Oh Mocha, are you jealous? I thought you liked Tsukune-kun over there, so don't bother us in our love life, right Sasuke-kun? She said while winking at him, which he replied with a blank stare. No, but Sasuke-kun is a friend, I will not you seduce him. Mocha said while blushing slightly. Meanwhile, Tsukune was currently thinking to himself. I thought I also resisted her charms. Well, less trouble for me I guess. He sighed. Kurumu then hugged Sasuke's arm. Not only he resisted my charms, but he also managed to stop me from straying to the wrong way. He is truly my destined one. She said while leaning her head on his shoulder, making Mocha fumed again. Sasuke massaged his temple and sighed. Who gave you a permission to make me your destined one? He said while staring at the succubus. Most Sasuke-kun tilde, don't be such a tsunere tilde? She said and continued to rub her head against his shoulder affectionately. Mocha quickly grabbed Sasuke's free hand and glared at the succubus. Sasuke, Tsukune, let's go to school and leave this girl alone. Using her vampiric strength, she pulled Sasuke away from the blue-haired succubus and stomped towards the school. Mocha-san, wait, Tsukune shouted and ran after the vampire and the Uchiha. Sasuke tilde, wait for me tilde. Kurumu giggled before running after the group. Oh god, what did I just got myself into? Damn you Naruto. Sasuke Uchiha inwardly fumed while being dragged by the vampire. Meanwhile, in another universe, our favorite blonde Jinchuriki sneezed. Naruto-san, are you alright? Ah don't worry Chopper, I only sneezed. Is your seal finished yet? Usopp asked him. Haha yeah, I'm activating it right now. Naruto grinned happily while standing in the middle of the seal. Thanks for letting me stay here, I'll be off now. Sure Naruto-san, the reindeer said happily. The Straw Hat Pirates had found Naruto stranded on a small island with several bruises while sailing, and proceeded to treat his injuries. He had explained his situation to them, saying that he was from another dimension. They easily believed him, as they can see that he was not the type to lie. He easily made friends with them, especially the captain and the medic, Monkey D. Luffy and Chopper. After staying with them in their ship for a few days, he decided to find his friend again by recreating the Uzumaki Dimension Crossing Seal, as he called it. Currently, it was nighttime and all of the crew members were there to see him complete the seal. Naruto then applied some chakra to his feet, causing the seal to glow brightly. All of them started to wave at him and saying their goodbyes. Yo, Luffy, I hope you achieve your dream in finding the One Piece. Naruto shouted at the captain. Hee, same to you too, Naruto. I hope you succeed in becoming the Hokage one day. He shouted back at the blonde ninja. Will we ever see you again, Naruto-san? Chopper asked with his eyes tearing up. Don't worry Chopper, one day I will create a better seal, and we can meet each other whenever we want. He grinned brightly at them. And Luffy, I will become the Hokage. Believe it. The seal then glowed brighter, and Naruto smiled at them one last time before blacking out. It was a good morning for Sasuke Uchiha since he had dreamt of restoring his clan last night, if you know what I mean. It had already been 2 weeks since the incident with Kurumu and now she often hung out with him, Tsukune and Mocha, but mostly him. He had just finished dressing himself in his school uniform in his room and was currently standing in front of a vending machine near the dorm. I wonder what Naruto is doing right now. Sasuke sighed as he took the tomato juice he just bought from the machine. Even though he cursed his friend a lot of times since he came to this dimension, he was still worried for his friend's safety and whereabouts. When Sasuke was walking to the main building while drinking his tomato juice, a blue-headed figure suddenly appeared in front of him and crushed his face to her large bosom. But there was no struggle from the Uchiha, since he had already faced this situation often. Sasuke-kun tilde, did you miss me? I've missed you so much. After suffocating him for a while, she released her hold on the black-haired boy. He appeared unaffected, despite just being hugged to death. She then clasped her hand behind her back and pouted at his stoic face. Didn't you miss me Sasuke-kun? Of course, Sasuke said, smiling at her with his left hand raised. Poke. Kurumu Kurono rubbed her forehead and pouted cutely. I know you'll do that. This was the usual routine for both of them. Kurumu will find Sasuke and will suffocate him with her large assets, and in return Sasuke will poke her forehead. They did this almost every day after Kurumu decided that he was her destined one. Their relationship had gone closer, since she hung out with him more often than Mocha and Tsukune, since the vampire and human were closer to each other than to her. The succubus grinned, she then clung to his right arm. She smiled. Let's go to class, Sasuke-kun. Oh wait, the recent exam result will be posted today, right? I'll just hope can pass, I barely studied. Who told you to slack off? Sasuke smirked. The Uchiha didn't really mind her clinging to him anymore. If she was brave enough to suffocate him with her boobs, these actions were nothing. They then walked to the main building together, with Kurumu snuggling closer to Sasuke. Back when they first did this, there will be several boys glaring at Sasuke while the girls will glare at Kurumu. But now most of them just glanced at them and continued to do their own thing. This was because the both of them were often seen together, so most of them didn't bother to disturb the two of them anymore. Nay Sasuke-kun. Why do you like tomatoes so much? Don't tell me, are you a vampire too? Kurumu gasped after looking at the tomato juice he was holding in his left hand. Sigh, of course not, I just happen to like tomatoes, and don't you dare laugh. He turned his head to glare at her. Kurumu giggled cutely, teehee. I was just kidding Sasuke-kun. But I never imagined that a cool and serious person such as you would have tomatoes as your favorite food. She covered her mouth to prevent herself from laughing, but failed miserably. Oh shut up. Despite that, Sasuke found himself chuckling a bit. They smiled at each other, with Kurumu to have a faint blush on her cheeks. She was really happy to be close to her supposed destined one. Plus he didn't even mind when she was snuggling to him like this. Suddenly, she noticed that Sasuke was frowning slightly. It was barely noticeable, but being with him for a while now, she can easily tell when he was worried. She nudged him and saw him looking at her, his face now neutral again. Sasuke-kun, is something wrong? You look worried? She asked timidly. Sasuke smirked slightly. You are an observant one, aren't you Kurumu? Not many people can tell my emotions simply by looking at me like that. Kurumu puffed out her chest, before looking at him again. I was just thinking about my best friend Naruto. It had already been a while and he's still not in this dimension yet. He said. Sasuke had already told his three friends that he was from another dimension and explained about his friend Naruto and how he got here. He didn't tell them much else though. They took it rather well, with Kurumu repeatedly blessing Naruto for making that mistake, as it had made her meet Sasuke, her supposed destined one. Don't worry. If he's as great as you said, then I'm sure he is currently working his way to find you right now. Kurumu said happily. Based on what Sasuke told her about Naruto, she knew that he was the one who saved Sasuke from his darkness. She also noticed how Sasuke looked happy while talking about his best friend back then. Someone who Sasuke-kun could easily consider his best friend. He must be an extremely awesome and cool guy to make him happy like that. Sasuke smiled and closed his eyes. I guess you're right, thanks for reassuring me, Kurumu. He opened his eyes and smiled genuinely at Kurumu. She beamed and without warning, pecked him on the cheek. This caused Sasuke to blush slightly, as he never had such interaction with a girl before. After all, when he returned to Konoha, he was only close to Sakura and Karen. Although the latter always tried to get his affection by seducing him, only to fail miserably. Welcome, Sasuke-kun. Kurumu said, blushing brightly. Even she herself didn't believe that she had actually kissed his cheek. They then continued to walk towards the school, with Kurumu ignoring many of the whispers about their rather affectionate action. Sasuke mentally sighed. Why does this girl has to attract so much attention? He looked at the face of the succubus leaning on his shoulder. She apparently noticed this as she faced the Uchiha and grinned at him brightly. But for some reason, I'm not annoyed like I should be. He then smiled back at the succubus. I'm also rather happy to be with someone like this. Sasuke suddenly released himself from Kurumu clutch, surprising her. Before she could get hurt by his action, he suddenly held her hand and interlaced his finger with hers. Kurumu was surprised, before smiling at him affectionately. He looked up the sky and closed his eyes, before tightening his hold on her hand and smiled. I guess, this is a good thing too. Hey, you're really rubbing on me huh, Naruto? Meanwhile in another universe, a blonde-haired youth with whisker marks sneezed. Naruto-san, are you alright? You've been sneezing a lot since you joined the Colosseum, you know? Alibaba Saluha, a blonde-haired man with golden eyes asked. Ahaha, don't worry about it Alibaba. Someone must be thinking about me. Naruto replied happily. Naruto had already gone to several dimensions since he parted with the Straw Hats pirates. He had experienced a world where people can fly and execute an awesome technique called Kamehameha. He was so happy when some old pervert called Master Roshi decided to teach it to him. Haha, take that Sasuke. There was even a dimension where people fight with their calories and another one where angels, fallen angels and devils were involved in a great war. He still can't forget the beautiful red-haired devil he met there as she reminded him greatly of his mother. He also wore many different cloths in each world he went, from orange training GI to black Shinigami robe. One thing for sure, he had traveled across dimensions for a few months now and already made many new friends throughout his journey. When he reached this dimension, he found out from several people that he's in some place called Ream Empire. He also discovered that there was a famous Colosseum nearby, so he decided to join it since he didn't have anything else to do. There, he met a kind-hearted teenager called Alibaba Saluha. Alibaba said that he was there to train and control his Magoi, as he called it. Naruto thought it was probably something close to chakra. He also told him a little about his friend called Aladdin, who was apparently a magi. He easily became one of the best gladiators in there, along with Alibaba and a girl named Toto. He fought using dual staff like he used in his senjutsu of the Six Paths form. Although he only stayed and fought there for a few days, he was already popular among the spectators. Currently, he was standing in the middle of another Uzumaki dimension-crossing seal he made. Alibaba was standing further away from him, while staring at the seal in awe. Hey Alibaba, I'll be going now. Naruto shouted at him, the seal under him starting to glow brightly. Naruto-san, I hope we'll meet again. The blonde-haired prince answered. Don't worry. No matter where we are, our hearts will bring us together again. He quoted from a brunette named Aerith, a girl he met in another universe. Aladdin. Alibaba shook himself from his stupor. Thank you for everything you had done. See you later. He shouted. Hey, I will. Believe it, Naruto said before the seal shone brighter and everything faded. For some reason, I think I'm getting closer to finding Sasuke again. Naruto smiled in his thought. Sasuke, wait for me. TT Ibeo. Sigh, I barely passed all subjects. Kurumu said, rubbing her temples. Aha, don't worry Kurumu-chan. I didn't do great either. My grades are only average. I'm only number 128. Tsukune said, trying to cheer his friend up. Sasuke-kun, you're a genius. You managed to get second in the whole grade. Mocha clapped while smiling brightly at Sasuke. HN, you get number 13, you should be proud too. He said, smiling slightly. The group was currently checking their result on the notice board in the school hallway with many other students crowding near them. I wonder who was the student who managed to beat Sasuke-san in the exam. Tsukune thought out loud. The girls nodded. Don't worry Sasuke, you are still number 1 in my heart. Kurumu said before hugging Sasuke from the back, making Mocha slightly angry. HN, I don't really care about my grades. I didn't even give it my all. He answered. If I did, I would have used my Sharingan. He smirked inwardly. Suddenly, they heard some shouting. They all followed the direction of the voice and encountered a young girl with black hair in a witch hat and cape being surrounded by 3 older students. It looked like they were bullying her. The leader of the bully had an armband strapped on his left shoulder, meaning he was a class representative. Hey, don't think just because you are the first in the grade means you can get arrogant, squirt. The leader with wrinkles on his face said. And what's with this pointy hat? I despise people who stick out. He grinned while poking the girl's hat. Leave me alone. The girl then took out her wand and spun it around. Suddenly, 3 golden wash tubs fell on each of the bully's head, causing them to fall down from the hit. Why you? The 3 of them get closer to the girl. Before things could get ugly, Mocha and Tsukune intervened by standing in front of the girl protectively. I'm sure she didn't mean it, please leave her alone. Mocha said bravely while Tsukune nodded. The leader still moved closer, before he felt a pair of red eyes watching him, daring him to move. He could swear that he would have peed if it wasn't for his 2 companions pulling him back. After regaining his composure, he said, "Why, you're lucky someone was willing to save you. Next time, you will not be so lucky, witch." He spat the last word with disgust. They then turned around and walked away. After they had gone, Mocha quickly faced the young girl. "Are you okay? Did they hurt?" She never finished her word as the girl suddenly glommed her. "Mocha tilde?" Yukari Sendo said happily while planting her face on Mocha's boobs. "You were so brave just now. I love you, Mocha." Tsukune and Kurumu gaped at what she just said while Sasuke just raised his eyebrows in interest. Hey. Tsukune, help, Mocha said while flailing her arms. Tsukune pulled her from the witch hug with force. After he successfully released Mocha, Yukari faced the group and grinned. "I'm the school #1 genius Yukari Sendo, Deizu," she said proudly before suddenly glaring at Tsukune. "And I won't forgive you for taking my love Mocha away from me, Tsukune Aono." What? Tsukune said, sweat dropping. "I know all about you. Your grades are in the middle of the middle. You have average athletic abilities, and you don't even have any special traits or hobbies. I don't want my beautiful Mocha-san to be brought into the dirt by someone like you," she shouted. Kurumu growled, "What the hell is wrong with you? He just saved you just now." Sasuke was still eyeing the direction where the bullies had disappeared. Yukari spun her wand and 3 golden washtubs suddenly appeared above the group sans Mocha. 2 of them hit Tsukune and Kurumu in the head while the last one was easily grabbed by the Uchiha's left hand. Yukari puffed out her cheeks, "And you?" The witch pointed her staff at the Uchiha. "Don't act all high and mighty just because you get second, you are still nothing compared to me." She grinned proudly, expecting some kind of outburst from the stoic Uchiha. "Are you done?" Only to fall down from his lack of reaction. She growled fiercer, but because of her petite figure and cute face, it made her look adorable instead. "Gah, no matter, you'll see." Yukari then stomped away fuming, leaving a trail of dust behind her. "Geez, what's wrong with that kid? We saved her and look what she did to us," Kurumu said while rubbing the sore spot on her head. Tsukune nodded because Yukari just confessed to Mocha and blamed him for getting close to his own crush. Meanwhile, Sasuke was thinking about the look the witch just gave him. Her eyes were filled with something he was familiar with: loneliness and crave for attention. "Naruto?" He quickly shook his head to dispel the thoughts. "Mocha, do you know anything about that girl?" he suddenly asked the vampire, while Kurumu and Tsukune were still complaining. Oh, well, she is the school's smartest student and also the youngest. She is only 11 but she skipped grade because of her genius mind. She is famous for pranking her classmates or those who insult her for being a witch." Mocha looked sad while saying the last part. "What's wrong with being a witch?" he asked curiously. Witch is considered as border beings, those that are something between human and supernatural. As a result, both monster and humans hate her and ignore her. The vampire said glumly. In return, she would be lonely. That's why she started to prank all those people, to get their attention. Sasuke thought. "Just like you, huh, Dobi?" "True, so she's just like Sasuke-kun then." Sasuke-kun is technically a human, he even smell like one. But he is a ninja, so he has abilities no human could possess. Kurumu suddenly intervened while rubbing her chin with her finger. Although nobody really knows about that since Sasuke-kun is so secretive. He also doesn't wear ninja clothing to show what he is, unlike that girl. "I know you told us you're a ninja, but I'm not sure if you were even a normal human, not like we mind though." Tsukune quickly added the last part. He still remembered seeing Sasuke powers when he fought inner Mocha before. He knew becoming a ninja requires skill. But when Sasuke suddenly surrounded his body with purple ribs, that was no skill, that was supernatural power. Kurumu nodded, remembering Sasuke's weird red eyes when he dispelled her illusion. "Whatever, I'll go to the cafeteria now. Those fangirls are getting closer," Sasuke said while pointing at the huge crowd of girls holding a banner that said, "Congratulations on getting #2 Sasuke Kian tilde." Mocha and Kurumu immediately glared at the girls, while Tsukune quickly followed the Uchiha to the cafeteria, not ready to see a huge catfight going on. The group was eating in the cafeteria, with Mocha and Kurumu having a few minor bruises. Sasuke and Kurumu were sitting beside each other as usual, while Mocha and Tsukune were sitting across them. "Mocha-san, Kurumu-chan." You didn't have to fight those fangirls, you know. Sasuke can easily get away from them, you could have gotten hurt. Tsukune said while frowning at the both of them. But Tsukune-kun tilde. I can't let any other girls get close to my Sasuke-kun. Nay, Sasuke tilde. Kurumu placed her chin on the Uchiha's shoulder and grinned at him. Tsukune, thank you for worrying about me. Mocha said, blushing slightly. She leaned in closer and Kapu-chu tilde. Mocha-san, you should really warned me before you drink my blood. Tsukune said, his face drained of its color. Mocha stopped drinking his blood and rubbed her mouth with her sleeve. Teehee. Thank you, Tsukune. This caused Tsukune to blush while several guys from the other tables glared at him. Although it looked very arousing, I'm lucky Mocha doesn't suck my blood. Sasuke thought. Mocha always sucks Tsukune-kun blood? Nay, Sasuke-kun. Do you mind if I bite your neck too tilde? Kurumu said alluringly. Yes, I do. I let you smother my face with your boobs every day, and yet you still want more. Sasuke deadpanned. The succubus leaned in closer until her mouth was near the Uchiha's neck. Are you sure you don't want this tilde? She said playfully with her hands on his chest. Mocha was already fuming while Tsukune was struggling to hold her back from reaching Kurumu. Sasuke stayed silent for a while. Suddenly he turned his head to face Kurumu and tilted her chin up with his index finger to face him. Their faces were only a few inches apart. He smiled temptingly while giving her his most charming gaze, causing her to blush deep red. He slowly leaned in closer and whispered to her ear. Are you sure you're ready for this, little devil? Kurumu's face now resembled a tomato and a trail of blood was noticeably leaking out from her nose. Mocha and Tsukune were confused since they didn't hear what Sasuke was whispering. Before they could ask what just happened, the bell rang. Since she will not be moving for a while, I'll just carry her then. Sasuke said as he slung Kurumu over his shoulder and ran towards their class. The still confused Mocha and Tsukune quickly chased after them. When the both of them reached the door of their class, a small figure suddenly tackled Mocha and groped her from behind. Why, Yukari-chan? What *AHNN are you doing? The vampire asked while resisting the witch action. Showing my love to you, Daizu. And to prevent you from getting close with that boy. Yukari said while pointing her staff to Tsukune. Instantly, several golden washtubs appeared above him and fell down on him repeatedly. Why are you doing this to me? The human shouted, panting. His head now have several bumps on it. Yukari stuck out her tongue at Tsukune. She winked at Mocha one last time before scampering off. Arg, that kid annoyed me so much. Tsukune said, clutching his bruised head frustratingly. Don't worry, Tsukune, for now let's go to our class. The vampire dragged her friend to their homeroom. After school had ended, the group gathered around Sasuke's seat to chat. Kurumu was unusually silent. Kurumu-chan, are you okay? Tsukune asked the succubus. She didn't speak for a while, before facing Sasuke. Sasuke, you're not supposed to do that. She yelled, her face still red from embarrassment. Oh, what did I do? Sasuke was visibly smirking. I am supposed to be the dominant one. The seam, she said. Tsukune and Mocha turned red from what they heard. Sasuke, you've gone that far already? Tsukune asked, staring at the both of them incredulously. Mocha also stared at Sasuke, but for a different reason. Sasuke-kun, does that mean, you were supposed to be the Youkai? Tsukune faced palm from the remark. No, that's not what I meant. As much as I love to have that kind of relationship with Sasuke-kun, everyone's sweat dropped. I was just talking about what he did at the cafeteria just now. Kurumu answered. The Uchiha massaged his temple. Can you all please shut up? They all zipped their mouth immediately. He slowly rose from his seat. I'm gonna get some tomato juice from the vending machine. Mocha, you wanna come? He asked the pinkette. Sure. Mocha stood up from her seat and followed the Uchiha out of the classroom, leaving the succubus and the human alone. Kurumu crossed her arms on the desk and buried her face in it. She was still blushing from just now, Tsukune noted. Kurumu-chan, no need to get so embarrassed. Let's do something together, he said to the succubus. Sure, Tsukune-kun. Hey, can you help me in the math homework Ms. Ririko gave just now? I completely spaced out while she was showing the formula. She exclaimed. Sure. They then started to do some revision while waiting for Mocha and Sasuke to come back. Unaware to the both of them, a certain black-haired witch was crouching outside the window, a voodoo doll in her hand. Hee, I'll totally destroy the closeness between Mocha and Tsukune with this magical item, Warawara-kun, Deizu. Yukari said, grinning brightly. She moved the doll hand to punch its own face. In the room, Tsukune suddenly smacked his own face, causing his nose to bleed. Yukari proceeded to move and shake the doll some more. Wah, my body is moving by itself. Tsukune shouted, his face now have several bruises from hitting himself. Tsukune, calm yourself, Kurumu said while trying to prevent his hands from hitting his face. Meanwhile, Sasuke and Mocha were walking back to the classroom drinking tomato juice, when they heard Tsukune shouting. The classroom sure is noisy, ne Sasuke-kun? Mocha asked her black-haired friend. Slurp, Sasuke answered with a grunt. Mocha get close to the classroom and opened the door. Sorry we're late, what's wrong Suku, ne? When they looked inside, they saw that Tsukune was currently groping both of Kurumu's breasts. Mocha's jaw dropped while Sasuke twitched slightly. Tsukune saw them and quickly explained before they made any conclusions. It's not what you think it is. My body is moving on its own, he shouted. Suddenly his hand moved and flipped up Kurumu's skirt, revealing her light blue panties. Tsukune. Both Kurumu and Mocha cried before slapping the human together. Sasuke knew Yukari was controlling Tsukune, since he had sensed her when he and Mocha entered the class but made no move to stop them from slapping the human, as he was still irritated from when Tsukune groped Kurumu. Since when did I get so protective? He sighed. They suddenly heard a familiar voice laughing outside the window. Sasuke quickly dragged the still laughing Yukari into the classroom. Somebody do something about that girl. I'm really pissed right now. Tsukune screamed. Yukari just stuck out her tongue while hiding behind Mocha. Tsukune, let's all calm down. The vampire said, trying to calm her friend. You're going too soft on her, Mocha-san. You've got to tell her to stop bothering us. It's for her own good too, right? Well, it's true, but… Mocha said slowly. I'm a bother even to Mocha-san? Yukari thought to herself sadly. If Yukari-chan just hangs out with you, Mocha-san, then won't she lose all of her friends and end up totally alone? Yukari looked down. I don't mind. After all, I'm a genius. I'm sorry, but I don't want such low-ability friends. The witch said. Yukari-chan. Tsukune's words were cut off when she continued. Besides, I've always been alone. She faked a smile. Just like him. Sasuke thought sadly. Everyone stared at her in sympathy. Why Yukari-chan? I'm sore. Suddenly a golden washtub fell down on Tsukune's head. Hee I gotcha. Yukari then ran off at high speed, leaving them again. Tsukune, why did you do that to her? Mocha yelled at her friend. Why are you defending her? She made me suffer a lot. Why can't you understand Yukari-chan feelings? Don't you feel sorry for her? Mocha said before running off to find Yukari. Mocha-san, geez, but it's true that she disturbed us a lot. It's not her fault for being one of the hated race. Kurumu said, remembering how witch were treated. Hated race? The human asked. Tsukune, didn't you hear what Mocha said this morning? Witch are hated and ignored because they are considered as border beings. Sasuke said, massaging his temple. Realization dawned upon Tsukune. Does that mean she was really alone? He immediately felt guilty for saying such things to Yukari. Come on, let's go find her before anything happens. The Uchiha said. The others nodded and sprint to the direction where Mocha had gone to. Yukari was still running, remembering what all her classmates had said about her before. She's so bratty. Why do we have to be in the same class as that baby? And she wears that disgusting witch costume. Witches aren't monster, are they? They're closer to humans, right? You have no rights to be in this academy, get out of here. I don't mind, being alone? The witch mumbled sadly. After minutes of running, she realized that she had gone outside the school area, in the middle of a forest. Oh no, where am I? She thought frantically. Suddenly she heard someone laughing behind her. She turned around and saw the class representative and his gang. Class representative? She asked slowly. Well, if it isn't Yukari-chan, I still can't forgive you for humiliating me in front of those many students earlier. He then licked his lips hungrily. I've been waiting to get you alone. Suddenly all three of them turned their true form, Lizard Man. Their body became scaly and green. while their head turned into one of a lizard and their body size grew tremendously. So disgusting. A witch is such a disgusting being. We have no need for someone like you in our class. The leader spat. Yukari took out her wand, but before she could do anything with it, one of the lizard men bit it, crushing it completely. My wand, she said fearfully. Without it, I can't use any of my magic. What should we do with her? I doubt anybody will save her anyway. The leader said. I know. Let's eat her up. The fog here is so thick, nobody would know. One of them stated. That sounds good, let's eat her up. The leader said, opening his huge mouth and dived at Yukari. Somebody, help, Yukari shouted. And no, I can't die here. I'm only 11. She noticed that he was getting closer. Is this the end? I still want to live my life. The lizard man was only inches away from reaching her. I want to have friends, too? She closed her eyes, tears were flowing down her cheek. I don't want to die alone. Meanwhile, Sasuke and the group were sprinting to find Yukari after they heard her screaming. They also met Mocha on the way there and were currently being led by Sasuke because of his superior sensing skill. All of a sudden, Sasuke stopped, causing all of them behind him to hit his back and fell down. Sasuke, what are you doing? We must go find her right now. She must be in trouble. Tsukune shouted at the Uchiha. Suddenly, they all saw him smirked. Sasuke-kun? Kurumu asked her destined one. So you finally come, huh? He whispered. All of them stared at him, confused. What do you mean, Sasuke-kun? Mocha asked. Sasuke smirked and put his hands in his pocket. If he's here, your friend's safety is confirmed. Why? Tsukune asked. Sasuke turned around to face them. They can't believe their eyes. The Uchiha was actually grinning. Because it's Naruto. Wind release. Rasengan bullet barrage. A loud voice was heard near Yukari, causing her to open her eyes and gaped at what she saw. The leader of the lizard man was being hit by multiple blue spiraling energy spheres, and all of the spheres exploded on impact. After several more explosions, the leader was lying in a crater on the ground, his body full of bruises and cuts. What just happened? One of the lizard men said, frightened when they saw their leader crumpled and beat in form. Yukari couldn't believe her eyes. Someone had actually saved her. Although she didn't saw who it was, she knew it was a boy based on the masculine voice he heard. Leaf whirlwind. Suddenly both of the remaining lizard men crashed face to face into each other after being kicked hard by their sides. Before they had time to recover, they heard the mysterious voice shouted again. Wait, did they just heard that from two persons simultaneously? Rasengan. Both of the reptiles get their back crushed as two spheres of energy were smashed into their back respectively. The ball of energy drilled their back until it exploded. The lizard men were quickly unconscious from the unbearable pain. When Yukari opened her eyes from all the dust, she finally saw who her savior was. Standing in between the two unconscious form of the lizard man, was a tall boy with blonde, wild and spiky hair. There was also whisker marks on each side of his face, and he was dressed in a dark blue tunic and black boots. She noticed he was also very lean and muscular since his tunic didn't cover most of his body. Suddenly, he turned around and stared at the witch. What she saw next was a pair of brightest blue eyes she had ever seen. He was also extremely good looking. In an instant, he was standing in front of her, causing her to yelp cutely. Before she could scold him for shocking her, he suddenly took hold of her hand. Are you okay? They didn't hurt you, did they? If they did, I will stab their butt with my senjutsu staff Ibeo. He exclaimed while checking for any injuries on her. Yukari stayed quiet. She can't believe someone actually saved her life and was worried about her. That's right, he probably doesn't know I'm a witch. Yukari forcefully released her hand from the blonde grip. I don't need your help. I'm a witch, she shouted. You'll probably hate me now, right? You're just the same like everyone else. Her eyes were tearing up. And I will be alone, again? The witch was sobbing now. Before she could say anything more, Yukari felt a pair of arms embracing her. What are you doing? She tried to release herself from the blonde embrace, but he won't budge. Just let it all out, okay? I'll be here for you. The blonde said. She complied and embraced the boy back, crying her heart out. After several minutes of sobbing, she stopped and looked up to the blonde. Don't you hate me? I'm a witch, Dazu. Suddenly she felt a strong pair of hands gripped her shoulders. Yukari saw the stranger was looking at her with determined eyes. No, I will never hate you. You've done nothing wrong. Just because you're a witch doesn't mean I have to hate you. Your race had nothing to do with you. The boy said with resolve. She looked at the stranger eyes and saw nothing but sincerity. After all, I know what it's like to be hated and ignored for something you're not responsible with, he said while looking away from her. He suddenly stood up and faced her. So that's why from now on, I will be your friend, the blonde said while grinning brightly at her. Yukari looked at the boy for a moment, before wailing uncontrollably. Naruto panicked. What did I do? Oof. She quickly tackled the boy into a hug, causing both of them to fall. Thank you, Daizu. You don't know how much that means to me, she said while burying her face in her newfound friend's chest. After a moment of struggling, the blonde calmed down and patted her head. Hey, so what's your name? He said, and she slowly looked up to face him. Yukari Sendo. Please take care of me, she said and hugged him tighter. Oh oof. Well, nice to meet you, Yukari-chan. I'm your #1 unpredictable ninja, Naruto Uzumaki. Believe it, Naruto said while giving her a thumb up. They then grinned at each other, Yukari releasing her grip on the blonde. Currently, Naruto and Yukari were leaning against a big tree side by side, while all three of the lizard men were tied up together to another tree. Both of them had painted their face with Yukari's permanent marker, and the witch had kicked their balls repeatedly. The blonde winced when she did that. So you're telling me that you once painted an entire monument without anybody noticing? Naruto-kun, you're awesome, Daizu, Yukari said while smiling brightly at the blonde. I am the most unpredictable ninja in the world after all, Naruto said while rubbing the back of his head sheepishly. They were chatting with each other happily without a care in the world. Yukari told him about where they were and why witch were treated horribly. While Naruto was mad at the reason, he was more terrified when she said they were in a school full of monsters. Although he calmed down slightly when she said they all were mostly seen in their human form. Naruto also told her that he was from another dimension and he was trying to find a friend. Currently they were talking about all the pranks they had done before. I once transformed into a hot naked girl in front of the class. All the boys including my teacher fainted from excessive nosebleed. Pretty awesome, right? The blonde said, grinning. You can transform into a hot naked girl? Can you teach me that technique, please, Tilda? The witch asked while giving him her puppy dog eyes. Or, maybe later, he said before smiling at her genuinely. The witch blushed a bit. Just remember one thing, Yukari-chan. When you prank, make sure you only do it for the fun, not for humiliating or hurting other people. True prankster will not harm anybody in their pranks, he said proudly. Wow, you're so cool, Naruto-kun. The Jinchuriki felt a sense of déjà vu when he heard that. I wonder what Konohamaru is doing now. I know, Yukari-chan. I just wish more people would appreciate the art of pranking Ibeo. Yukari nodded. I think I will apologize to all of my classmates for pranking them, she said determinedly. Good for you, Yukari-chan. He patted her head, causing her to blush slightly. While they were busy chatting, they didn't realize that another group was getting closer to them. Are you sure Yukari-chan and your friend is here, Sasuke-kun? Mocha asked her friend. The group had finally reached the place where Yukari was supposed to be. Yup. I can sense both of their chakras, but for some reason I can't pinpoint it, Sasuke said, slightly confused. Hey, look at that, Tsukune shouted, pointing at the three lizard men who were tied to a tree. All of them were bruised and battered, their faces were full of funny drawings. Typical Naruto, Sasuke sighed. So your friend is here after all, Sasuke-kun. I can't wait to meet him. He must be cool and awesome like you, Kurumu said happily. Suddenly, they heard people laughing and giggling. But due to the fact that they were in a foggy and spooky forest, the echo made it sound frightening. Kurumu immediately hugged Sasuke while Mocha clutched Tsukune's arm. Is this place haunted? Kurumu asked fearfully. You do realize you're a monster, right? Or are you just using this as an excuse to get a feel of my body? Sasuke deadpanned. She blushed, but still didn't get off him. They moved closer to the sound, and witnessed an unexpected scene. Yukari Sendo was talking to a handsome blonde teenager who was dressed in some kind of Rome outfit. They were laughing and chatting happily, not even noticing their arrival. The group leaned in closer to hear what the two were talking about. I even threatened my sensei to tell him the spoiler of his favorite book if he didn't let me have the bell. Naruto said proudly. Yukari giggled and took off her hat. Hey Naruto-kun, maybe one day we could do pranks together. She looked at him expectantly. The Jinchuriki chuckled and patted her head. Of course, Yukari-chan. Yukari brightened up considerably and hugged her new friend again. Dezu. She grinned brightly. Ah, that was so cute. Kurumu giggled. I'm so glad she has a friend now. Mocha said while wiping some tears. Is that Sasuke's friend? He's nothing like I imagined. Tsukune exclaimed. Typical Naruto. Kids always like him. Sasuke stated. Let's go greet them now. Suddenly, Naruto and Yukari heard footsteps coming from in front of them. Both of them looked up and saw Sasuke, Mocha, Tsukune and Kurumu staring at them, smiling. Well, except for Sasuke, he was smirking. Mocha-san? Tsukune-san? Yukari asked timidly. She stopped hugging Naruto and stood in front of them. She bowed down. I'm sorry for everything I had done. I shouldn't have done all that. Mocha slowly hugged her. It's not your fault, Yukari-chan. I know you're alone, and I know how it feels too. Tsukune joined in. I am sorry Yukari-chan. I was ignorant and I didn't know how you felt. If I had understood you a little better. So please don't think of yourself as alone anymore. Let's be friends from now on, okay Yukari-chan? Tsukune said. Yukari looked at him and nodded. Okay. Forgive me too Tsukune-san. They then grinned at each other. The others looked at the scene and smiled. Naruto walked and stood beside Sasuke. So all of them are your friends then, Sasuke? Yeah, he answered, smiling slightly. After the heartwarming scene had finished, everybody looked at Naruto weirdly, mainly because of his outfit. Yukari ran toward Naruto and took hold of his right hand. This is Naruto Uzumaki Dezu. He's the one who saved me from those bullies, and also my first friend. She exclaimed. Naruto rubbed the back of his head sheepishly, not comfortable with all the eyes looking at him. So you're Naruto. Thank you for saving Yukari-chan Naruto-san. My name is Tsukune Iono. Tsukune said while bowing at him. No, please don't bow. I'm not one with formalities. The Jinchuriki said, waving his free hand in front of him. But still, thank you Naruto-san. Yukari would have gotten hurt if it wasn't for you. My name is Mocha Akashiya, pleased to meet you. Mocha told the blonde cheerfully. Naruto can't help but see the resemblance between her and Sakura with her pink hair and green eyes. So you're the Naruto Sasuke told us about. Kurumu said while circling the blonde, observing him. Naruto tried hard not to look at her enormous boobs. Such boobs, it rivals Ba-chan, he thought frantically. I've got to admit you're handsome and muscular, but... She quickly clung to one of Sasuke's arm. I belong to Sasuke-kun only. The succubus said happily. When she said that, they all noticed Naruto's eyes were opened wide and he stared at Sasuke like the Uchiha had grown a second head. Sasuke. Does that mean, she's your girlfriend? He shouted. Kurumu blushed a bit while Sasuke just smirked. Oh, so what if she is? He said before pulling Kurumu closer to him, causing her to blush like mad. Naruto's jaw dropped. He suddenly appeared behind Sasuke, much to the amazement of the others. Now that they take a closer look, they noticed that Naruto was about 1 or 2 inches taller than Sasuke. Teme, you've actually changed. I thought you were gay all this time. At least I don't have to worry about my chastity anymore. I'm so proud of you Tilda. He said, patting the Uchiha's back while crying fake anime tears. Sasuke gained a tick mark on his forehead. He released himself from Kurumu and glared at Naruto. Hey Dobi, I still haven't forgive you for suddenly transporting me to another universe without my permission. Naruto quickly jumped back when he saw his friend Sharingan was spinning. Sasuke, I'm sorry. It was an accident, please don't Amaterasu me Ibeo. The blonde said backing away. Sasuke cracked his knuckles and smirked. Well, I hope you can survive my Yasaka Magatama then. Suddenly he was in front of Naruto and aimed a punch at him. The blonde quickly dodged to the left and countered with a spinning right kick. They then started trading blows, completely forgetting about their audience. Wow, I've never seen Sasuke-san act like that before. Naruto-san must be something else to make him completely loses his cool. Tsukune said, while watching them fight. Their personalities are completely different too. Naruto-san seems much more friendly and outspoken compared to Sasuke-kun. Maybe that's why they are best friends. Mocha stated. While you're busy talking about that, look at how they fight. I can barely follow their movements. Kurumu exclaimed, watching as the two blurs hit each other repeatedly. On that note, go Sasuke-kun tilde. Shut up you big-breasted cow. Naruto-kun, you can do it. Yukari cheered for her friend. Thus, the fight continued. It was already close to dusk and the group was walking back to the main building. Tsukune, Mocha, Kurumu and Yukari were in the front, chatting and teasing each other happily. Naruto and Sasuke were walking in the back, side by side. Hee, they certainly look like a fun bunch, right Teme? Naruto said to his best friend. His hands were behind his head. I guess they are. Sasuke smiled, his hands inside his pockets. By the way Dobi, what's with the outfit? He asked. Oh, well this is from the previous dimension I've been before I get here, it's a Colosseum outfit. He said happily. Say, how many dimensions have you been in? And how long have you traveled across dimensions? About 10 to 20? And I traveled for about 3 months I think. Sasuke stared at his friend, before shaking his head, smiling. Well I guess there is a time difference between dimensions huh? I was only here for a few weeks. God damn you Teme, I was busy searching for you while you gotten yourself a beautiful big-breasted girl in barely a month. You jerk. Naruto complained, looking crestfallen. Little that he knows that many of the girls he met liked him, but he's too oblivious to know it. Hey, I guess. Sasuke smirked. They then ran faster to catch up with their new friends. Not that I'm complaining. Ramen, Naruto, miso ramen, Naruto, miso ramen with Shri Oof. Stop hugging me from behind you ramen-obsessed freak. Sasuke's kick made Naruto fell down to the ground clutching his stomach. It was 5 in the morning and the Uchiha had invited Naruto to sleep in his room the night before as he knew the blonde was tired after transporting to this dimension just yesterday. Furthermore, Naruto had nowhere to go. The blonde was still wearing his blue tunic and Sasuke was wearing his sleepwear. Naruto had pleaded Sasuke to let him sleep on his bed with him, but since he kept drooling on Sasuke's hair, the Uchiha had kicked Naruto out of his bed violently. Hey Teme, what the hell was that for? Naruto shouted at his best friend. Oh I don't know, since you keep nibbling my hair while chanting your favorite ramen? Sleep on the ground and nibble your finger then Dobi. Sasuke said while glaring at him. Naruto mumbled something about Uchihas would stick up their asses before pouting and sleeping on the carpet. Sasuke rubbed his temple and sighed. It was just one night he lived with Naruto and he had already started to make his life a living hell. Even now he was snoring loudly and made noises while sleeping. I think I will sleep now, there is school tomorrow after all. And so the Uchiha proceeded to sleep on his bed. The next morning, Sasuke had woken up to find that his idiot of a friend had gone missing. Probably the headmaster had summoned him. He thought to himself. After he had finished dressing himself, he walked out of the dorm. He met Kurumu as usual and later met with Mocha and Tsukune. Sasuke-kun? Where's your friend Naruto? I thought you would walk out together with him and show him to the headmaster? Kurumu asked her beloved Sasuke-kun. He is probably with the headmaster as we speak. Since I was transported to the headmaster office after I had just arrived in this dimension too. Hey, I can't wait to see his face when he realized that he will have to study in this school. Sasuke grinned evilly, making the others shivered. What's wrong with him studying? Tsukune asked curiously. Oh, let's just say that academics was never his strong point. The Uchiha smirked. Oh, well let's go to class now. I heard there will be an announcement today. Mocha said before dragging Tsukune by his arm and ran towards the school. Teehee, poor Tsukune. Well let's go. Sasuke-kun, don't want to be late. Kurumu grinned and pushed the Uchiha to the school, at the same time hugging him from behind. In the class, Tsukune was doodling on his notebook when Ms. Nekonomiya entered the class with her usual smile. She clapped her hand causing every student to look at her. Ehem. Today we will have another new student joining us, Nian. Ms. Nekonomiya said while looking at Sasuke. Kurumu nudged Sasuke. Does that mean that he is Naru? Sasuke raised his hand to stop her from talking. Even though Sasuke said nothing in the outside, but in the inside he was panicking like crazy. No, if he's in our class then my life in this school would be hell. Sasuke thought while sweating profusely. He can already imagine what will happen if Naruto is in his class. He would disturb him to no end and babble about ramen every day. Plus he would probably prank him and the whole class for fun. Suddenly the classroom door opened and came in a familiar blonde with wild and spiky hair. He walked to the teacher and wrote his name on the blackboard. It wrote, Naruto Uzumaki. He then faced the class and crossed his arms. He was dressed in the usual dress shirt, albeit crumpled as he was wearing it in a hurry. His blazer was tied around his waist, giving him a rebel look. This caused his lean and muscular build to be seen completely. He also wore a black headband with an orange swirl around his forehead. His bangs covered most of his headband and he had whisker marks on his cheeks. But the most noticeable thing was his pair of bright blue eyes that charmed everyone in the class. He then faced the class and gave his famous grin. The name is Naruto Uzumaki. Let's be friends from now on, Datbayo. Almost all of the girls clapped their hands with heart in their eyes after looking at the cheerful handsome blonde. Some of the guys actually smiled back at him for his friendliness. Wow, he looks so wild and cool. I think he's on par with Sasuke-kun. He even has a verbal tick and whisker marks. How cute tilde. TCH, this is like when Sasupimp came to our class. At least this guy is not a jerk. Welcome to our class, Naruto-kun. Many of the students smiled and waved at him. The positive energy he was radiating was just too much for them. Even some of the boys who glared at him stopped their glaring. The Jinchuriki just smiled brightly at them, oblivious to the girls flirting. Naruto-kun is really friendly, ne Tsukune? Mocha asked her friend. True, at this rate he will be as popular as Sasuke-san. Tsukune answered. I still wonder how he managed to become your friend Sasuke-kun. Your personalities are completely different from him. Kurumu said. Oh well, as long as he doesn't disturb me. Sasuke said while covering his face with his palm. Shush, Uzumaki-san. Why don't you sit over there? The empty seat beside Tsukune-san. Ms. Nekonomiya said. Tsukune raised his hand to let Naruto know who he is, in case he didn't remember from yesterday. Sure sensei. Naruto flashed his teacher a smile before sitting beside Tsukune. Yo Tsukune. The blonde greeted the friend he just met yesterday. Hello Naruto-san. Tsukune smiled at the cheerful teen. I expected you to enroll here too since this is what happened to Sasuke-san after he came to this dimension. Hello Naruto-kun. Mocha said happily. Hey Mocha-chan. The Jinchuriki replied. Mocha blushed a bit since he had already added the chan, despite just meeting her yesterday. Naruto turned his head to look at Sasuke who was trying to avoid looking at him. Hey Teme, why didn't you greet your best friend you prick? He exclaimed loudly. All of the students looked at the two confusedly. Did the two hottest guys in the class know each other? And they were best friends? Sasuke twitched. TCH, shut up Dobi. Stop creating a scene in the class while the teacher is trying to teach. He replied, annoyed. Meanwhile, the girls were thinking another thing entirely. Two hot guys? Best friends? Gah, don't tell me you're still mad because I slept on your bed last night? Last night? Slept on your bed? It's your fault for hugging me from behind. Hugging? F from B behind? The girls let their imagination run wild. Thud. All the girls had fainted from excessive nosebleed. Even Kurumu and Mocha were unconscious. One thing was similar though, they all fainted with a smile on their face. What just happened? Naruto asked nobody in particular. Every male in the room turned to look at Naruto and Sasuke weirdly. Tsukune coughed to get the two shinobis' attention. Anyo, you guys do realize that the way you argue make it sound like you were last night. He said slowly. Sasuke quickly realized what they had just said and buried his face in his palms. I knew something would happen if Naruto is here, damn you Dobi. Naruto was still confused. What does that mean? Why did the girls faint? He asked innocently. All the guys stare at him like he was dumb, which he kinda was. He meant to say that you sounded like you were having an intercourse with Sasuke-san last night Naruto-san. Matabi said passively. Matabi-chan why said it so fast? Chome wanted to see Naru-chan cluelessness for a while longer. Chome said downtrodden. Naruto said loudly. Suddenly Ms. Nekonomiya stood in front of him and tapped his head with a ruler. Now Uzumaki-san. Don't say such vulgar word inside the classroom on your first day. Ms. Nekonome smiled at him, but the smile looked intimidating instead of comforting. Hi, the blonde said slowly. Thus the class continued, after waking up all of the girls and clearing the misunderstanding of course. The class lost its awkwardness when Naruto joked with the teacher, causing everybody to laugh. The class continued peacefully without any interruption. Gah, what kind of horrible kinjutsu did I just face? Naruto exclaimed in his seat after the class had finished. Only Tsukune and the gang were in the class. Many of the girls had tried to invite Naruto to have lunch with them, but he politely declined and promised to accompany them next time. The girls were happy as he didn't reject them, unlike Sasuke who completely ignored their requests. Anyo, Naruto-san, are you okay? Tsukune asked his friend. Of course not. What the heck was algebra and why did the teachers give so much homework? Even my old sensei didn't give me homework during the academy. The Jinchuriki said while crying fake anime tears. Those subjects are what we must study in this world, get used to it. Sasuke said while smirking. Kuso. Don't tease me just because you're smart, you jerk. Kurumu, Tsukune and Mocha sweat dropped at the scene. Suddenly their classroom door opened, and entered the cute witch Yukari. Naruto-kun, you're student in this school too? Yukari said before hugging Naruto tightly and burying her face into his stomach. Naruto just smiled and hugged her back. After they finished their hugging session, Yukari turned to face her new friends. Hi everyone, hi Mocha-san, and proceed to grope Mocha's breasts from behind. Everyone laugh at her antics. So Yukari-chan, what brings you here? Tsukune smiled at the young girl. The petite girl released her hold from Mocha's body and grinned at him. I just apologized to all of my classmates for pranking them, and they all forgave me. Yukari said happily. Some of them even said sorry for picking on me before, she said while smiling gratefully at Naruto. All of them smiled at the young witch. Good for you, Yukari-chan, Naruto said as he patted the witch head affectionately. Yukari blushed and proceeded to sit on his lap, before leaning her head on his chest. Yukari-chan really likes Naruto-kun, ne? Kurumu said when she saw the scene. The others nodded their head in agreement. Naruto was very good when it comes to kids or young teenagers. Probably because he never had a good childhood, he won't let anybody be lonely like him and will not let them fake their smiles anymore. Suddenly Naruto's stomach growled loudly. He rubbed the back of his head in embarrassment before asking, Anyo, can anybody lead me to the cafeteria? Everybody chuckled at his antics before going to the cafeteria together. Naruto was at the school entrance stretching. He was planning on exploring the school and his energy was full, so he's ready than ever. After all, he had just eaten 10 bowls of ramen during lunch just now. The gang except Sasuke was shocked after seeing him eating his food without stopping. They never expected him to be a ramen maniac. Currently the school had finished and Naruto told his friends that he wanted to jog around the school and explore the academy. They all agreed and Sasuke told him to be back by dusk if he wanted to finish his homework. He agreed reluctantly and now he was ready to jog. After he started his jog, he observed the school grounds and looked at the trees and surroundings. He admitted that the school creeped him out and he still can't believe most of the students were monsters. After jogging for a while, he eventually stopped at a hill overlooking the Red Sea. Why not rest here for a bit? He thought before sitting cross-legged near the edge of the hill. He stared at the Red Sea and the dark skies with his cerulean blue eyes. While the scenery would probably look scary to most people, Naruto thought the scene was peaceful and calming. It feels like he can stop being cheerful all the time and actually act like his calm self. Naruto was known for his loud and obnoxious attitude. But only he, the tailed beasts inside him and some of his close friends knew this side of him. When he was a child, he often kept a cheerful facade and let others think that he was happy, but in the inside he was very lonely. He didn't have anybody and yet he kept being happy for others. So when he was alone, he will drop his mask and reveal his lonely and calm side. Of course nowadays he didn't have to fake his smiles anymore, as his mask had actually become a part of him. But there were times when he still wanted to be left alone like he was back then, as it had grown into a habit, so a peaceful place such as this was perfect. As he closed his eyes to blend in with the nature, he suddenly felt another person sitting beside him. Said person was a purple-haired girl with blue eyes and pupils. Mizore Shirayuki didn't know the boy sitting on her usual spot was. As far as she knew, she was the only one who had been in this place and she often used it to get away from other people and be left alone. Mizore kept watching the boy sitting on the hill curiously. When she realized that he probably would not be moving for a while, she slowly sat beside him. He didn't bother her, so she would not bother him either. She didn't even look at the stranger face. The only thing she knew was that he had a spiky blonde hair. And he smelled like a human. This place is really peaceful. Are you here often? Mizore jerked a bit when she realized that the stranger was talking to her. She slowly buried her face into her knees and mumbled, yes. Suddenly the boy stood up and walked closer to the edge of the hill, his foot only inches away from falling. He put his arms behind his head while looking at the vast sea. Hey, well, good for you. I thought I was the only one who appreciates nature nowadays. The blonde spoke slowly. Mizore could see that he was happy, if that relaxed tone hadn't showed enough. Why are you here? She asked slowly. She could hear the blonde chuckled a bit before replying. I was exploring the school when I found this place, then I decided to sit down and relax a bit. He paused a bit before saying, sure, I have many friends to hang out with, but even an active person such as me needs some alone time now and then. Mizore unconsciously nodded. Everyone have their hidden side that nobody knows. Most people know me as a cheerful guy that always makes others happy, but now I'm just your average guy that needed some happiness himself too. You know? He chuckled before asking, say, where's your friends? Mizore buried her face deeper in her knees and slowly said, I have no friends. That's all she needed to say before she heard the stranger spun around his toes. Let me be your friend then. Mizore raised her head and finally saw the face of the stranger. He has the brightest blue eyes she had ever seen and a very kind face. He also looked sincere when he said that. But after looking at him for a while, she turned her head, gritted her teeth. You're a human, you would probably hate me if you know what I am. She said slowly. She then stood up and transformed into her Yuki Onna form, making her hands and hair transformed into ice. The first human I befriended with ran away when he knew that I was a Yuki Onna. She doesn't like talking about her past, but this boy was saying things he would regret. What makes you any different? I don't need any friends. Nobody understands me, and they all just think of me as an emotionless weird girl. She glared, but what he said next completely surprised her. Just because you're an ice girl doesn't mean I had to run away. I don't want to hate a person when I don't even know anything about them. That's like saying a book is bad even though you never read it, y'all. No? He paused a bit. I know that even though you say you don't need any friends, you're actually lonely inside. You are depressed, but you hide it with an emotionless facade. Nobody tried to befriend you, so you hide your emotions away. He faced the ground. Being alone is the worst feeling that anyone could ever hope for. After all, I had been alone and hated for so long, so I know better than anyone how hard it feels. He raised his head and stared at the teary-eyed girl. So that's why, I don't care if you push me away, I would still befriend you and break that facade of yours. I would never let anybody feel the same thing like I did. He said with determination. Mizore, who was staring at the boy in front of her, unconsciously let her tears flow down her cheeks. She was too surprised to say anything. Who knew that this happy-go-lucky stranger actually understood how she felt? After a while, he walked closer and put his hands inside his pockets. Besides, that guy was stupid if he was scared of you, because, well, I think you look beautiful in either form. He grinned with a slight blush. Mizore was shocked when he said all that. She expected nobody to try and come to understand, let alone befriend her. She was very happy to meet someone as kind and thoughtful as him. A blush formed on her face after the compliment, and she quickly turned her head away, smiling. After a while, the purple-haired girl faced the blonde and said slowly, Mizore Shirayuki. She paused a bit before continuing. Thank you for saying all of that. She reverted to her human form and smiled at him. I feel so much better now. No problem. The name is Naruto Uzumaki, believe it. Naruto exclaimed happily. Mizore felt that they were already friends, despite just meeting each other moments ago. It was probably because of the positive energy Naruto was radiating and his friendliness. Naruto suddenly paused and looked at her in the eyes. You know, I once had a friend that had ice powers like you too. He told her. Had? Mizore asked slowly. She noticed that the blonde expression turned sad for a bit before smiling at her again. Well, he died shortly after I met him. Before Mizore could apologize for bringing back old memories, he ruffled her hair. But don't worry, I will always remember him as a precious person of mine. He was the one who told me the way to be strong. He looked happy when he said that. The Jinchuriki still remembered what Haku had told him. When a person has something important they want to protect, that's when they can become truly strong. After a few seconds, Naruto suddenly took hold of her hand and smiled. Hey, wanna accompany me in exploring the school? I'm new here, y'all, no? Mizore blushed a bit and nodded. Sure, I'm an expert when it comes to finding the best hiding spot in this school. Naruto looked confused, but grinned nonetheless. Lead the way then, Mizore-chan. As she held Naruto's hand, she placed her free hand at her beating heart. I wonder, what is this feeling in my heart? She smiled and glanced at the cheerful Jinchuriki. Let's go, Naruto. It was nighttime and Naruto opened the door to his and Sasuke room. The headmaster had decided to put them in the same room as they probably will be comfortable with each other. Sure, comfortable? Where were you, Naruto? It is already night and you just arrived now? Sasuke asked his grinning friend. Sasuke. I met a new friend just now. She helped in finding my way around the school too. Heck, I think I now know my way around the school more than you. Naruto replied happily. He and Mizore had explored the school thoroughly and had fun being with each other. Mizore was not much of a talker and was reserved, he noted, but she can be sweet when she wanted to. Naruto also told her that he was a ninja and an awesome one at that. In return, she told him that he was probably considered as a border being, and he told her he had no idea what that is. Overall, it was a fun trip for Naruto. I just left you for a while and you already got yourself a girl? And you called me a jerk? The Uchiha smirked. Naruto blushed a bit before retorting. I'm not like Ero Sanin Teme. I don't hit on every girl I see. She was just a friend. He paused a bit, though she was very cute. He grinned. Now what will you do about your homework? You didn't finish it yet, you know? Sasuke stared at his friend passively. Oh well. Shadow clone jutsu. And 3 Naruto clones suddenly appear in front of him. I command you to do my homework and finish it by tomorrow morning. That's all he said before he took off his shirt and jumped on his mattress. Ah, so comfy. And he proceeded to go to sleep. TCH, just because he is the original. The clones grumbled and started to do his homework reluctantly. Sasuke smiled a bit, before jumping out of his window to do his daily training. Everything suddenly got more interesting with you here, huh, Naruto? Next morning. This academy goal is to train monsters to adapt to human society. Just as I've been saying all along. So that means, starting today you're all going to take up club activities. Everyone listened to what Ms. Nekonome had said attentively. Many of them were excited to be in a club, even Sasuke. I wonder if they have a club involving swords. Sasuke was awakened from his stupor when he felt Kurumu pulling his shirt. He looked at the succubus and saw her smiling at him. Which club will you enter, Sasuke-kun? I will join any club you join. Kurumu said gleefully. I'm not sure yet, let's go to the hallway to see all of the clubs available. He replied. Suddenly, Tsukune and Mocha stopped in front of his and Kurumu's table. Let's go find some clubs together, Sasuke-san, Kurumu-chan. The human said with a smile. They nodded before Kurumu noticed something. Where's Naruto-kun? They looked around to search for the blonde, but Tsukune's cough interrupted them. He told me he will go and find Yukari-chan in her class. Let's go by ourselves for now, maybe we will meet them later. He said. Sasuke shrugged and stood up from his seat. Let's go then. When they arrived at the hallway, it was filled with many people promoting their clubs. Many of the guys glared at Sasuke and Tsukune as usual for being surrounded by 2 beautiful girls. Many guys from creepy clubs tried to invite the 2 girls to join their weird clubs, but a quick glare from Sasuke scared them all away. Mocha-san, why don't we join the swimming club? Tsukune suggested, although his main reason was actually to see Mocha in a swimsuit. Mocha widened her eyes slightly as she hugged her body with her arms. Sasuke noticed her discomfort and wondered why. Before Mocha could say anything, they heard some people shouting about the swimming club having hot and girls. Suddenly a beautiful girl with turquoise-colored hair in a bikini moved towards Tsukune and smiled at him. I'm the swimming club captain, Tamao Ichino's. I heard you wanted to join the swimming club? Tsukune nodded shyly. The swimming club is all female. The ladies will end up paying a lot of attention to the boy who joins our club. Many of the boys widened their eyes after hearing that. Mimi, I'll join. Me too. I want to swim with you too. The boys cheered loudly. Soon Tsukune also nodded and took Mocha's hand and went to the pool with all the others. Kurumu wanted to follow, but Sasuke gripped her hand tightly before she could move. What's wrong, Sasuke-kun? Kurumu asked her destined one worriedly. I'm not sure, but I feel that something is wrong with the club. I think I will get some information about the club first. Sasuke said seriously. In the meantime, we can look for any other clubs as well. Kurumu looked back and forth between the huge group of swimming club and Sasuke. She sighed and held the Uchiha's hand. She knew that as a ninja, he would probably know when there is a danger more so than anyone else. Alright, Sasuke-kun, how will we get our information? She asked. Sasuke thought about it for a while before answering. Let's go ask some second or third students, they would probably know about the club more than us. And they proceeded to walk around checking the clubs while asking about the swimming club. Slurp, ah, this noodle tastes so good. Not on par with ramen, but still good. Naruto said as he finished the bowl of noodles in his hand while walking beside Yukari, who was still eating her noodle. They had gotten them from the cooking club when the club decided to give the students free samples of food. Yukari wiped her mouth with her hand as she too finished her noodles. You are right, Daizu. The noodle tastes good, so what will we do now? She asked her brother figure. Naruto rubbed his chin thoughtfully before grinning at her. Hey, I heard that the swimming club is the hottest club right now. How about we prank them? He said mischievously. Yukari returned the grin before dragging him to an empty classroom. She closed the door behind her and looked at the blonde. So what's the plan? Yukari hesitated for a while before saying slowly. Naruto Nichan. Naruto smiled brightly, brighter than any of the smiles she had seen from him. Huh, you finally called me Ni-chan. I'm so happy. In an instant, he already hugged her tightly and started to spin her around. Yukari blushed but returned the hug affectionately. After spinning for a while, he put her down and smiled. So here's the plan, when they are busy swimming, we will take all of their school uniforms and taunt them with my clones. When they get angry and chase the clones, we will take that moment to chill the water until it becomes as cold as ice. The blonde told her. It is a simple prank, but it will be fun to see their reaction. Imagine them walking around the school without their clothes on and with shivering. Yukari grinned brightly, but her expression turned into one of confusion. But how can we cool the water, Nichan? Do you have a ninjutsu for that too? Naruto chuckled and tapped her head softly. It is ninjutsu, Yukari-chan. But no, I don't have any jutsu for that. Well, at least not without crushing the whole school. He mumbled the last part silently. Instead, I will ask someone else who can. Since pranks would be more fun if there are more of us doing it together. The blonde told her. Then who is this person who can? The young witch asked curiously. Naruto grinned and sat cross-legged as he closed his eyes. Yukari also sat down, confused at what he is doing. After a few seconds, he opened his eyes again and carried her on his back. Close your eyes. The witch was puzzled but did it nonetheless. Suddenly she felt her body moving in extreme speed for a few seconds before feeling normal again. After putting her down, Naruto spoke again. Open your eyes now, Yukari-chan. When she opened her eyes, she was baffled as she realized that they were on the rooftop. She looked at the blonde who was smiling proudly at her. Just pure speed, no jutsu. Suddenly she heard footsteps coming after them. She turned around and saw a purple-haired girl with blue eyes that wore a different kind of uniform than most of the students. As for Mizore, she was shocked to see Naruto suddenly appear in a yellow flash with a girl. Yo, Mizore-chan. This is Yukari-chan. Yukari-chan, this is Mizore-chan. Mizore nodded at Yukari briefly before returning her attention towards Naruto. Naruto, what are you doing here? Mizore asked, confused. Said blonde rubbed the back of his head sheepishly before replying her. I managed to find you since I sensed you here. Well, I'm a ninja after all. He said proudly. He then rubbed the back of his head nervously. Well, you see, me and Yukari-chan here. Yukari waved her hand timidly. Are going to prank the swimming club, and we need your help. Naruto said while clasping the both of his hands together in front of him. My help? The snow girl said confusedly. Yukari stood in front of her and put her hands on her hips, grinning. Muahaha, the plan is to take the swimming club members' uniforms and distract them with Naruto Nichin clones. Then when they are distracted, you will freeze the pool, well not completely but enough to make it cold. She paused for a bit. But how can you do that? Naru ni told me you can. Mizore showed the girl her ice claws, and Yukari immediately know what she was. The witch then beamed and took hold of both Naruto and Mizore hands. Let's go Dazu. I can't wait to see their reaction. Naruto laughed while Mizore smiled at the young witch. A prank sounds fun, and at least she get to do something with Naruto. They are mermaids? And they usually suck out the new male club members' life force? Kurumu half shouted at the random third year who told them about the nature of the swimming club, causing everyone to look at her. She hurriedly buried her face into the shoulder of Sasuke to hide her embarrassment. TCH, I knew something was wrong with the club. Kurumu, let's go. Sasuke quickly took hold of her hand and ran toward the direction of the pool while bumping several students on the way. He can't get there fast since he can't jump around, because the hallway was still packed with students. While I am very fast, I can't weave my through everything like Naruto, curse him and his legendary speed. He thought inwardly, let's just hope Tsukune can take off Mocha's Rosario. Her vampire power is the only that could save Tsukune right now. Kurumu widened her eyes. Oh no, Sasuke-kun, I remembered something. Vampire's weakness is water, and Mocha is a vampire. At this rate they will both be in danger. She said frantically. Sasuke cursed inwardly. No wonder Mocha looked worried when Tsukune said he wanted to join the club. He can just hope he or Naruto could get there in time. Tsukune was feeling very guilty. He had hoped to see Mocha in a swimsuit, but she had told him that she didn't like swimming. He was heartbroken at first, but then Tamao had hugged him and invited him to swim in the pool. At first he was happy to be praised by Tamao, and for some reason she had let him touch certain parts of her body. But Mocha got angry after seeing him getting touched by Tamao so openly. He told her that he just wanted to swim with her, but she replied that he was the one who didn't understand her. After Tamao splashed Mocha with water, she suddenly looked pained and ran. Tsukune sighed and slowly faced Tamao. Tamao-senpai, I'm sorry, but I don't want to stay in the swimming club. He said as he bowed to her. After all, if Mocha isn't here, then this is just. Suddenly, he heard Tamao chuckled. And just when I finally managed to chase off that bothersome Mocha, isn't the fun just beginning? Her hands suddenly become webbed and she was grinning menacingly at him. He can also see her tail wrapping around him. A mermaid? Tsukune thought. All of a sudden, the human heard someone shouting. He turned his head and gaped at what he saw. Two of the swimming club girls in their mermaid form were biting a guy, and after a while, he turned into an old man. Soon, all of the guys were swimming in panic while trying to get away from the chasing mermaids. Tsukune tried to swim, but he felt someone hugging him from behind. Don't need to panic, it's fine, you're special, Tsukune. Tamao said, grinning evilly. The truth is, I've had my eyes on you since the entrance ceremony. It's just you see, you have a yummy smell, just like a human, Tsukune-kun. I've always wanted to eat you up. She slowly opened her scaly mouth to bite him. Tsukune. Mocha shouted at him. Mocha-san. What, are you back again? Don't get in my way, not that you could. You're nothing but a worthless monster that can't even swim. The mermaid grinned. See, can't swim? I'm right, aren't I? There's nothing you can do, is there? After all, water drains vampire energy. At least you can watch quietly from over there. Mocha suddenly dived into the water, not caring about her safety anymore. Her inner self screamed at her for being a fool, but she didn't care, as long as she can save her dear friend Tsukune. When she got in the water, her body was immediately shocked painfully. The human swiftly swam towards her and held her unconscious body. Mocha-san, what have I done? He hugged her body tightly. Forgive me. Forgive me, Mocha-san, Tsukune thought before he took off the rosary around Mocha's neck. A huge splash suddenly occurred in the water, and a powerful supernatural energy was immediately felt by everybody. A silver-haired girl with red eyes replaced the pink-haired Mocha. No, this overwhelming feeling, so this is the rumored true form of Mocha? Tamao whispered to herself. Inner Mocha glared at the mermaid furiously. How dare you treat me like this? her red slit eyes making her look more intimidating. "TCH. Come on, what is this? Why won't you get out of the way? I had my eyes set on Tsukune-kun and I'm never going to give him up for someone like you." Tamao growled. Truth to be told, it's not like she was obsessed over sucking the life force out of anybody. She didn't actually like it, but as a mermaid, she had to do it to sustain her youth and life. Even though she and the other mermaids in the club sucked these new members' life force, they will not kill them. The guys who had been turned into an old man will usually regain back their youth after a day or two. But this boy, Tsukune, smelled exactly like a human. For that, she can't resist herself from biting and sucking all of his life force. "Girls, attack." Soon, all of the mermaids were surrounding Mocha, trapping her in a whirlpool. "Hey, I don't know how strong you are, but in our territory, mermaids will always be victorious." Mocha smirked. "HMPH, coming from a low class that can't think of anything but food, don't make me laugh," she said as she elbowed a mermaid that tried to attack her from behind. In an instant, many of the mermaids rushed in to attack the vampire. Mocha skillfully dodged many of them, causing them to crash into each other. She then used their body as a stepping stone to jump higher into the air, as she knew that she will be very weak if she was exposed to the water for a long period amount of time. She also planned to lure them to attack her in the mid-air, and attack they did. Many of them jumped high into the air to try and hit the vampire, but they completely forgot that a mid-air fight was not a mermaid's territory. Mocha kicked one of the offending mermaids in the chin and delivered a right hook to another. She kicked a mermaid in the back and jumped higher. Once she was high enough, she executed a deadly axe kick, eliminating most of them easily. But before she could land, she saw that Tamao, the only mermaid left, was grinning at her. Before she could think about it, she heard the mermaid shout, "Hydro Blaster." Mocha failed to dodge the blast of water as since she was still in the mid-air, her movement was limited. She didn't expect the mermaid to be so smart and blasted her while she was vulnerable. The vampire cursed inwardly for her carelessness. As she fell from the shock of the water blast, she could hear Tsukune shouting her name desperately. "TCH, pathetic. You should have realized my weakness sooner, human?" Around the same time, "Hee, good work for stealing all the clothes. Yukari-chan, Mizore-chan." Naruto said happily as he tied another one of the uniforms to a huge pole made of ice, courtesy of Mizore. "Now I only need to have my clone wave this flag made up of uniforms, panties and bras in front of the swimming club, and lure them away from the pool." Yukari and Mizore nodded. They really had fun taking all of the club members' uniforms, pants, underwears, panties in the changing room. Yukari can't wait to see their face when they realized their pool was freezing. "Naruto Nichan, let's go now," the cute witch said as she tugged the sleeve of the boy's uniform. The blonde ruffled her hair and nodded. Suddenly an identical clone appeared beside him, and took the panty flag, as Naruto dubbed it. The clone nodded and disappeared in a flash. Soon, the trio also got out of the room wearing a grin on their face, except for Mizore, who was neutral. Suddenly Naruto saw Sasuke and Kurumu got out of a huge crowd. They looked rather tense. The cheerful blonde waved at them and moved closer. "Yoteme, Kurumu-chan. What's the hurry?" Suddenly Sasuke turned and looked at him in the eyes seriously. Naruto immediately knew that something bad was happening, and tensed himself as well. "Sasuke, what's the situation? The swimming club is dangerous. The senior female club members are mermaids and they usually suck the life force of the new members," Sasuke said sternly. "Why do they need to do that?" the Jinchuriki asked. Yukari immediately raised her hand. "Naruto Nichan, mermaids need to suck out other people's energy so that they can sustain their youth and life. Legend said that they cause shipwrecks by luring in ships with their beauty and suck the life force of the males in the ship. Although they are feared, there are some mermaids who are not dangerous and only suck out a bit of life force just to live," the witch said intelligently. "So, they are just doing it for their lives," Naruto thought. Suddenly Sasuke looked at him grimly. "Tsukune is there too." The president of the club, Tamao Ichinos, was the one who lured him into joining the club. The Uchiha told him, "I told you about Mocha's sealed vampire form before, right?" The blonde nodded. "Kurumu told me that vampires are weak to water, so she may be in a disadvantage." Yukari widened her eyes as she started to get worried for Mocha. Mizore didn't know what was happening, but she knew that it was bad. She was ready to assist Naruto if he need her help. TCH, then what are we waiting for? Calm, Naruto stopped and put a finger on his temple. Shit, I just got my clone memory, silver-haired Mocha is currently in trouble. He knew this since his clone had immediately dispelled itself the moment he saw the scene. Sorry guys, I must hurry. That's all he said before disappearing in a yellow flash. All of them except Sasuke gaped at what they saw. Naruto can handle most things there. But let's just go and help them anyway, the pool is close. Sasuke said, and the group quickly sprinted towards the direction of the pool. Seconds before Mocha fell into the water, she felt someone carrying her. She opened her eyes and saw a blonde with blue eyes staring at her, concerned. Are you okay, Red-Eye Mocha-chan? Naruto asked worriedly. The vampire stared at his face for a few seconds. So this is Naruto. This person aura is way warmer and brighter than that Uchiha, so comforting. She quickly realized what she was thinking and pushed him away from her. I'm fine, now get out of my way. I have to defeat that low-class monster, she said huffily, but anyone could easily notice the tinge of pink on her cheek, except for Naruto. The blonde stood in front of her protectively and said, No, you are hurt. Stay back and let me handle this, he said seriously. Before Mocha could retort, he glanced over his shoulder and repeated in a deeper voice. Don't even think about moving. Mocha glared back briefly before sitting down in exhaustion. He was right after all. The blast had really drained her vampiric energy severely. Tsukune rushed to her side and tried to help her, only to be growled at. Tamao glared at Naruto. TCH, not you too. Hydro Blaster. She blasted a wave of water, but the blonde simply waved his hand and the water disappeared in an instant. Tamao gaped when she saw her attack had not affected the blonde at all. Many of the mermaids who had been defeated by Mocha were awakened by the time they see Naruto's power. They quickly swam to the edge of the pool to escape from the blonde, but black flames suddenly surround the pool, preventing them from getting out. They then tried to jump over the flames, only to realize that their lower body was encased in ice. Naruto grinned at both Sasuke and Mizore who were flanking him. Thanks. He then jumped over the flames and rushed at Tamao. The mermaid already realized that she will not win, so she slowly closed her eyes, waiting for her eventual demise. But instead, she felt a pair of strong arms encircling her. Tamao opened her eyes before looking up, and saw a pair of blue eyes that was staring at her softly. Everyone else gaped at what they saw. They were sure the blonde was going to kick the mermaid ass for hurting his friend. Mizore twitched slightly, not comfortable seeing him hugging another girl. Naruto started to speak. I know you guys are not doing this intentionally, you're only doing this to sustain your life, right? He asked the girl in his arms. Yes, but what I did was wrong. This was supposed to be like any other year. We sucked the new members' life force and leave them be later on. But Tsukune-kun smelled too much like a human, and I got out of control. The mermaid said regretfully. She sniffed a bit and widened her eyes. No, get away from me. You're a human too, aren't you? I don't want to get out of control again. She tried to push him but his grip was strong. Slowly he patted her head. Don't worry, I'll give you some of my life force. He smiled at her. Just promise me you guys will not do these types of things again. Tamao wanted to ask how can he gave her his life force, when suddenly she felt an incredible amount of very strong life force radiating from the blonde. Soon, all the mermaids in the pool were absorbing the energy pouring out from Naruto and were quickly energized. Tamao can feel the potent life force Naruto had and slowly hugged him. After a few seconds, the blonde let go of the mermaid. So now that you guys are full, can you stop biting people now? He asked with a charming grin. They all nodded. Some of them were even blushing. Now that's all settled. I will go check on Mocha. See ya later, Tamao-chan. Tamao could only wave when she looked at the back of the blonde. She had never met anyone who was so kind. Slowly a blush crept on her face. She was too occupied thinking about him that she didn't notice her friends calling for her. With Mocha, Mocha was surrounded by her outer side's friends. One of them was shaking her quite roughly. Red-Eye Mocha-chan, are you okay? Naruto said while shaking her shoulders. He was worried the water had hurt her. Vampires are weak to water after all. Mocha growled and pushed his arms away. You are strong, but I could have defeated the mermaid even if you didn't interrupt, she said slowly. Suddenly she heard the blonde chuckled. What's so funny? Naruto stopped laughing and rubbed the back of his head. It's just that, you look cold and mean outside, but you actually care about your friends. He looked at Sasuke. Just like that Tsunere guy over there. Sasuke glared at him. Mocha stood up, but didn't reply. The others watched curiously as she took her rosary from Tsukune and slowly turned around to face them, but she was actually only focusing on the crouching Naruto. Thank you, she mumbled and gave a small smile, only noticeable to the trained eyes of Naruto and Sasuke, and attached the rosary on her necklace. The rosary snapped into place and she returned to her pink-haired self. Mocha opened her eyes and Tsukune immediately hugged her and repeatedly apologized to the girl. She hugged him back and forgave him. Everyone stared at the heartwarming scene, smiling. Suddenly, Yukari grabbed Naruto's hand. "Ni-chan, what was that huge energy I felt?" she asked curiously. The others also leaned in to hear. "Anyo, Sasuke, can you explain?" he asked the Uchiha pleadingly. The Uchiha smirked and turned around, walking away. "Explain yourself, Dobi." One day later, after school. Rooftop. Naruto and Mizore were lying on the ground while gazing at the clouds. Just now, Tsukune and Mocha had decided to join the newspaper club. Thus Kurumu had also joined, dragging Sasuke along with her. Yukari also joined the club since Naruto said that clubs would be fun if you have your friends along with you. Now Naruto was trying to convince Mizore to join as well. "Come on, it would be fun. You can befriend them too. Oh, look at that chicken-shaped cloud." Mizore glanced at her friend and sighed. "Naruto, it may be easy for you to say, but I'm still not comfortable around other people. You're probably the only one that I'm close with," she said calmly. "What about Yukari-chan? You got along well with her yesterday, huh? That cloud looks like a shrimp," Naruto said enthusiastically. "Well, I guess that's because you were there," the snow girl said with a blush. The blonde then rose up to a sitting position and grinned at her. "Then I'll accompany you to the club. I'm sure they will remember you from yesterday. Come on, the club is fun, I guess," he said happily. Mizore stared at the boy beside her with a smile. "Maybe one day I'll join Naruto, but not now," she said slowly. Naruto pouted and lay on the ground again. "I guess I could wait, then again, I would probably ditch the club activities anyway." "Hey, look at that cloud, it looks like Sasuke's hair." "Haha, duck butt," Naruto exclaimed happily. Mizore slowly turned her body to look at him. She didn't know if she was in love with the boy who she just met a few days ago. But even if she's not, then maybe she will soon enough. She smiled fondly at the blonde and he returned it with a grin. "As long as I'm with you, everything is fine, Naruto." The two jutsus clashed, and the area around them immediately exploded violently. A big black and white explosion was created from the clash, causing it to destroy most of the field rather quickly. After several moments, it died down and we can see two figures stood in front of each other with several bruises and cuts on their body. On one side, a black-haired teen in a black t-shirt, blue training pants and black sandals was standing while crossing his arms, smirking slightly. In front of him, a blonde with spiky hair in an orange tank top, black shorts and blue sandals stood with his hands behind his head while grinning. "I see that your speed is still fast as ever, Naruto," Sasuke said with his eyes closed. "You defeated me in terms of taijutsu and you can now combine your unpredictable fighting style with your Toad Kata. Your attacks had become even more hard to predict." "Not bad, for an idiot," the Uchiha said, his smirk even more visible as he said the last part. The blonde in front of him twitched and glared at him. "Jerk," Naruto mumbled. "That aside, your kenjutsu completely trashed mine. But then again, I just started learning it. If it's not for my regenerative ability, my body would be full of scars by now," he said proudly to his best friend. "Your taijutsu had improved too. You managed to dodge most of my blows, not bad." He then paused and grinned arrogantly. "But I'm still better, duck butt," he said while sticking out his tongue. Sasuke just sighed. His friend was still immature, even after all this time. It was Sunday, so the duo had made a decision to train since they had a lot of free time. It was afternoon, and they both were training at Sasuke's private training ground. The Uchiha had showed it to Naruto when the Jinchuriki complained about his lack of training. They both agreed that they must still train even though they were already strong, because who knows what problems they will face, like the incident with Tamao a few days before. They had fought each other in taijutsu and kenjutsu. Naruto had expressed his interest in swords a few weeks after the war and Sasuke had decided to tutor him, while Naruto helped him improve his interceptor fist. Although, they were so immersed into the battle that they accidentally used their signature jutsu against each other. "Hey Sasuke, I want to show you this new technique I learned during my travels. I bet you'll be jealous. It's an awesome blast attack," Naruto said with a wide grin. Sasuke raised his eyebrows in interest. He liked learning new jutsus and technique after all. The Jinchuriki cupped his hands and drawn it to his side. Slowly, a large amount of chakra was focused into a single point between his hands. Naruto had learned how to use the technique using chakra instead of this ki the bald old pervert keep talking about. "Just wait after I finish charging this." "Ka? Me? Ha? Me?" Naruto grinned as the chakra became more focused and powerful. Sasuke was already shielding his eyes from the light emitted from Naruto's hands. He focuses his chakra and formed it between his hands. Instead of maintaining its form in a spiraling ball like the Rasengan, it is meant to be released after holding it for a while. I see. If the user were to thrust forward his hands, a powerful beam of energy will be unleashed. This looks like a very powerful technique, but is very slow to be executed, unless the user is familiar with this technique of course. Sasuke thought as he watched his friend charging the technique. Naruto grinned brighter as he felt it was completed. Now to blast this thing towards the sky, hehe. I can already imagine Sasuke's face. The Jinchuriki then got ready to thrust his hands, when someone suddenly tackled him from behind, immediately cancelling the attack. And it will be completely cancelled if the user is interrupted. Sasuke thought with a sweat drop. Naruto Nichan, Yukari, in her usual outfit, said as she continued to hug her brother figure from the back. Naruto struggled to release himself from the young girl grip. After he had succeeded, he sighed and patted the witch's head. Yukari-chan tilde. Your Nichan here was just charging a powerful technique y'all, no? He said with a frown. Yukari immediately felt guilty, but before she could say anything, Naruto sat down in front of her and grinned. So what does my little sister here want? Yukari brightened up again after realizing that he was not angry at her. Nichan, I want to spend time with you Daizu. Tomorrow we will be entering our new club, so our time together might be lesser. Yukari mumbled to the blonde. Naruto rubbed his chin sagely and grinned. Sure, I'll spend time with you. Sasuke, do you mind if I spend time with Yukari-chan? We can continue our training later. He shouted to his best friend. Sasuke just waved his hand lazily and walked back to the boys' dorm. Nichan, I heard the cooking club had opened a new ice cream stand near the girls' dorm, so I want to eat some with you. Yukari said happily. Naruto grinned and took hold of her hand. Let's go then, Yukari-chan. TCH, fangirls, even on my free day. Sasuke mumbled as he walked leisurely to his dorm while ignoring all the fangirls that were trailing behind him. He didn't understand why they were still infatuated with him despite being ignored hundreds of times. Just like Sakura back then, speaking of her, does she know about our disappearance by now? Maybe I should make Naruto to travel to our dimension and tell Kakashi about this dimension crossing thing. I'm sure he already figured out how to pinpoint which place he wants to go. Sasuke thought to himself. As he walked, the Uchiha noticed that the fangirls were still following him, and groaned. If only Kurumu was with me. Sasuke stopped talking and chuckled lightly. Where did that come from? Said girl was doing her unfinished homework, if not she would already be with him right now. Sasuke sighed. I must be missing her huh? He smiled inwardly. Hey, if the old me can see this, he'll be laughing his ass off. The great Uchiha Sasuke actually missing the company of a girl, huh? But he must admit, being with Kurumu most of the time had made him rather fond of her, not like he would said it out loud of course. It's not like he has a crush on her or anything, he just missed her company, and the pleasant smell of her hair, the smoothness of her soft hand, and her beautiful purple eyes. TCH, what am I thinking? Sasuke said as he rubbed his temple. He can already imagine Naruto teasing him about her if he told that idiot about this. Suddenly, he heard a familiar voice calling for him. Sasuke-kun, over here. Mocha waved her hand as she smiled at the young man. She was wearing a beautiful pink dress and sandals. The Uchiha slowly walked towards her and gave her a small smile. Mocha, what are you doing near the boys' dorm? He asked the vampire coolly. The girl smiled and answered. Well, I wanted to invite Tsukune to buy some ice cream at the new ice cream stand, but he said he is busy doing some last-minute homework, so I decided to invite you instead. Mocha said happily. Sasuke then looked at her passively. So I'm just a second choice? He asked. Mocha was surprised by his statement and immediately felt guilty. No. Sasuke-kun is precious to me too. Why you're not a second choice? I just. Mocha was already tearing up. What if Sasuke-kun hates me? Why did I forget about inviting him? I thought he didn't like outings like this because of his personality, but he actually wanted to spend time with me. He must think I'm a terrible friend, and maybe I am, after everything he had done for him. She stopped thinking when she realized Sasuke was wiping her tears while looking at her with a sad smile. Sorry, I was just trying to make a joke. I guess it didn't work, huh? Didn't know you would react like that, he said slowly. Naruto told him to become more cheerful, so he tried to lighten up by making a joke. But it obviously didn't work. Mocha quickly shook her head and held his hand. You don't need to apologize. I mean, it's still my fault since I didn't invite Yo. Poke. Mocha rubbed her forehead with both of her hands embarrassedly. Sasuke just smiled at her cute gesture. You think I'll get angry because of that? Of course not, it's only normal that you would think of Tsukune first, he's your first friend after all. I don't mind. Sasuke smiled kindly. Mocha blushed and nodded meekly. So, you want to grab some ice cream or not? The Uchiha asked with a smirk. Mocha beamed and quickly grabbed his arm. They then proceed to go together, their arms linking. Naruto and Yukari were currently eating their ice cream on a nearby bench while talking about their club. They had bought a large chocolate ice cream and shared it amongst themselves. Yukari-chan, chomp, what must we actually do chomp * in the newspaper club? Naruto asked the cute girl while eating his chocolate ice cream together with her. Yukari stopped eating the ice cream and put a finger under her chin. Ms. Nekonome said that we must publish newspapers to give to the students. Which mean we must write articles, take pictures and do many other things. The witch said with a smile. Naruto paled when he heard about writing articles but brightened up considerably when she said about taking pictures. I can take the pictures. Article is not my thing, he said as he rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. Yukari just giggled and smiled at the blonde. Suddenly, they saw Sasuke and Mocha heading their way while eating some reddish ice cream each. Hello, Yukari-chan, Naruto-kun. Mocha greeted them happily while Sasuke just raised his hand in acknowledgement. Whoa, what are those? Naruto said while pointing at the weird-colored ice creams that they were eating. Tomato. They both answered simultaneously. Mocha giggled while Sasuke smiled slightly. So what were you two doing? Sasuke asked Naruto and Yukari. Nothing much, just enjoying our ice cream while talking about what we will do in our club tomorrow. Naruto said carefreely. What should I prepare for tomorrow? Mocha said, thinking hard. Sasuke chuckled and poked her forehead again. No more thinking, let's just enjoy ourselves for now, shall we? The others smiled and nodded. Thus, they spent their evening chatting and joking with each other. Well, Naruto did most of the talking, while Sasuke just nodded when his name was mentioned, as he was too busy enjoying his rare tomato ice cream. Night. Naruto yawned as he finished his 5th scoop of ice cream. Mocha and Yukari had gone to their dorm a few hours ago. Similar to them, Sasuke had also gone back to the boys' dorm, after telling the Jinchuriki that he needed to discuss something with him this night. The blonde stayed there because he felt lazy and needed to relax. The ice cream stand is about to close. He noticed. Naruto quickly stood up and prepared to jog towards his room, when he heard some rustling in the bushes near him. He stealthily jumped up to the tree above the bushes, and saw Mizore looking at the bench he just sat on while sucking her lollipop. He immediately jumped down beside her, startling the girl. Yo Mizore-chan, what are you doing here? Naruto asked curiously. Mizore slowly turned her head to face him. Staring at you. Naruto's sweat dropped at the answer. He then smiled at her again, causing her to blush slightly. Wanna get a cone of ice cream, Mizore-chan? I'll pay, he said cheerfully. The ice girl nodded and Naruto quickly took hold of her hand. He bought her a mint ice cream and they walked side by side to the girl's dorm, since Naruto insisted that he wanted to accompany her. Mizore-chan, how's the ice cream? Naruto said as he walked with his hands behind his head. Mizore stopped licking her treat and looked at him with a kind smile. It's nice. Even more so when you're the one who bought it, Naruto. She said softly. Said guy had to keep himself from fainting at how cute she sounded. Oh, well good for you. Naruto said with a slight blush. After walking for a while, they finally reached the girls' dorm. Well here we are. I guess I'll go back to my room then, Mizore-chan. He said to the girl. Mizore nodded and slowly walked towards the entrance. No goodbye or anything? Naruto said confusedly as he scratched his head. Suddenly, the ice girl turned around and looked at him with a beautiful smile on her face. He could have sworn he saw snowflakes falling down from the sky at the time. Thank you for accompanying me, Naruto. Mizore whispered, loud enough for him to hear. Naruto restrained himself from launching towards the girl to hug her. Why does she suddenly become so attractive, Ibeo? He thought inwardly. He could see how delicate she looks under the moonlight. After a long period of silence, Naruto smiled and walked closer to her. Is he going to kiss me? Mizore thought happily as she could see the tiny blush on his cheeks. But instead of doing what she thought he would do, the blonde boy ruffled her hair and smiled. A kind and normal smile, not the grin that he always showed. Well, I'll be going now, Mizore-chan. I'll see you at school tomorrow then. Naruto said as his face morphed into a grin. He then leisurely walked backwards while still facing her, and after a while, he stopped. He slowly raised his hand and waved slightly, a gesture which she returned. Bye, Mizore waved with a slight blush. See ya, Mizore-chan, he said before suddenly disappearing in a yellow flash. Mizore stared at the place he had just been, and smiled. Naruto, go back to Konoha and tell Kakashi that we are doing some dimension traveling? Sure, why not? I already did some research about the seal and I can probably pinpoint a dimension easily. Awesome, right? Naruto said to Sasuke happily. The Uchiha smirked and nodded. Good, then get to it. He said flatly. Naruto eyebrows twitched. I want to sleep, damn it. How about I do it tomorrow? Please? The blonde asked while giving him the puppy dog eyes. How about now? Sasuke said with a sweet smile. Naruto bowed his head sadly while the Uchiha turned around and lied down on his bed, his back facing Naruto. Gah, damn it, shadow clone jutsu. 4 Naruto clones appeared and quickly took some paintbrush and ink out of the seals on their shoulders. They then proceed to draw a series of complex seals on the floor. After a few minutes, it was finished. Teme, I'll be going now. Naruto said as he stepped on the seal. Sasuke waved his hand lazily without turning around. Send my greetings to Sakura and Kakashi. If possible, bring me some of my clothes. Sasuke didn't need to look to know that Naruto was giving him a thumb up. Flash. Finally, some peace around here. Sasuke said after the bright light emitted from the seal had dimmed. Now, some sleep? The next day, after school. Clubroom. Why is Naruto-kun not with you, Sasuke-kun? Where's Nichan? I don't see Naruto. The group jerked a bit when Mizore suddenly came into the classroom, but then they returned their attention back to Sasuke. The stoic teen noticed them looking at him, probably demanding him to answer. He went back to his original dimension. I demanded him to. He said, not realizing how serious he sounded and the outbursts that followed. Sasuke-kun. Why did you do that? Mocha asked with tears in her eyes. Tsukune stood beside her, looking at Sasuke in disbelief. You're evil. Sob, I want my Nichan back. Yukari said while punching his stomach, although it barely hurt him. You? Mizore glared at him, the room temperature dropping rapidly. The group sans Sasuke were looking at the Uchiha. Sasuke looked confused at his friend's reactions. Why are you guys so angry? I just told him to go back to tell the leader of our village that we are traveling dimensions. He will come back sooner or later. He said while crossing his arms, irritated at their behavior. The group immediately backed down and looked at the ground embarrassedly. They shouldn't have reacted that way. Kurumu sighed in relief and nudged Sasuke's arm. I thought the seal sent you to other dimensions randomly? She asked. The group also looked at Sasuke again. He already discovered how to pinpoint the dimension he wanted to go. The Uchiha said stoically. He then looked at the still embarrassed group in front of him and closed his eyes. They had expected him to get angry at them, but instead he just sighed. Next time don't immediately jump to conclusions. They all looked at him and smiled. Mocha outright hugged him and apologized to him, much to the annoyance of Kurumu. Tsukune politely bowed while Yukari shyly said, "Sorry Sasuke-san." Mizore just mumbled a sorry and the room temperature turned normal once again. "Sorry Sasuke-san, but you sounded like you were forcing him to go." Tsukune said meekly, scared of the Uchiha response. "Tch, that guy disturbs me every day, and he would probably delay it if I hadn't told him to," Sasuke said while rubbing his temples. The others nodded and smiled, remembering Naruto's behavior. They all took a seat on the chairs in the classroom, waiting for Ms. Nekono, the newspaper club advisor, to come. Except Mizore, she already got out by the time Tsukune talked. Several minutes later, "Well then everyone, thanks for joining my club Neon. Now let's begin the club activities for the Youkai Academy newspaper club," Ms. Nekono said happily. Meanwhile, Tsukune and the gang except Sasuke were gaping at her. "We're the only members?" they all thought simultaneously. Tsukune slowly raised his hand. "Naruto is absent for today, sensei. And are we the only members?" Tsukune said confusedly. Ms. Nekono shook her head. Before she could reply, the door to the classroom opened. "Excuse me, here I am. Late on the first day." They all turned their head and saw a rather handsome black-haired senior holding a bouquet of roses. The new guy gave them the girls a charming smile. "Greetings. I'm the president of this newspaper club and your senpai, Gaine Morioka. Pleased to meet ya," he said cheerfully. Gaine then proceeded to give both Mocha, Yukari and Kurumu the flowers. "Ooh, the teacher told me about you. What beautiful club members you two are. And a cute lady too. You can call me Jin. Ah, red flowers are always suitable for such lovely ladies," he said happily. The group stared at him with a sweat drop, since he was rather flirty. Sasuke noticed that Gaine was looking at Mocha weirdly, and quickly decided that he didn't like the guy. Then again, Sasuke never liked people in general. After the teacher was done introducing him to them, she got out of the class to go to the staff meeting. Not before telling them to make friends with their senpai. Gaine then stood in front of the class and looked at them seriously. First I'll give you an explanation of just what kinda club this is. The goal of the newspaper club is to publish the school newspaper. Most of your activity will be reporting on all kinds of things within the academy and putting them in the newspaper. We'll be put into dangerous situation time after time for the sake of reporting. I'll tell you right now, this ain't gonna be an easy ride. Once you joined, you should prepare yourself," he said with a confident smile. They looked at him in awe, except Sasuke. He already disliked this guy. "Just messin' with ya. Let's have some fun without all the strict talk." Gaine took out a poster from under his jacket. "This is our poster ad, let's put it up on the back wall." The kid and the stoic dude put it up outside the class. He said. Tsukune and the older girls nodded, and quickly went to the back of the class. While Yukari and Sasuke, reluctantly, went out of the class. Several minutes later, we can see Mocha and Kurumu posting the posters on the wall with Gaine instructing them while Tsukune arranging them on a table. "Higher. Just a bit higher. What, even higher?" As the girls stood up higher on the chairs, Tsukune saw Gaine peeking at the girl's panties. He is totally panty peeping," Tsukune screamed inwardly. The human quickly rushed in front of Gaine, preventing him from looking at the girl's panties. "Senpai, what are you doing? Please stop. Are you really making them put up the poster high on purpose so you can do this?" he shouted at him, causing the girls to look at the both of them confusedly. "Huh? What are you talking about?" Gaine answered innocently. "Please don't pretend. You were just looking up their skirts, weren't you?" Tsukune said while blushing, since he too accidentally saw the girl's panties. "Ah, nonsense, there's no way I would do something so lame, Tilda," Gaine said with a smile. Mocha and Kurumu stopped standing on the chairs and hopped down. They walked towards the two male. "Huh? What's going on?" Mocha asked confusedly. "Oh, well this guy just saw your panties," Gaine said while pointing at Tsukune. The girls blushed heavily as they looked at Tsukune. The human tried to deny the statement, but he accidentally blurted out that he also saw their panties, causing them both to slap him. The girls immediately stomped out of the room, leaving Gaine to pat Tsukune's back. "Ah, you really are a moron. Thanks to you, the meeting today is cancelled," Gaine said happily. Tsukune gained a tick mark on his head as he glared at his senpai. Around the same time, Yukari was feeling rather awkward as she posted the posters outside the classroom. Sasuke didn't even talk once since they got out of the class. The witch sometimes looked at the handsome teen, but quickly turned away when he looked back. I wonder why he is so quiet. Naruto Nichan is so friendly and talkative. I wonder how they get along. Or maybe, he was still mad at me because of accusing him just now. I mean, he looks like he is pissed off right now. Yukari, can you lend me that poster over there? Sasuke said in a low tone. Yukari shook out of her stupor and quickly gave the Uchiha the poster. Here, Sasuke-san, she said meekly as she lent the ad with her head bowed down. When she looked up, she saw him staring at her, causing her to eat. Why do you look so scared? I don't bite you no. Sasuke said with a smirk as he looked at the cute witch. Yukari blinked and sighed in relief, happy that he was not angry at her. Well, because I thought you were still angry at me, since you didn't talk at all? Yukari said with her hands behind her back. Sasuke let out a chuckle, causing the witch to look up in surprise. She never heard the Uchiha chuckled before. That's just my personality. I'm not the type to interact with others. Sasuke said with his hands inside his pockets. Yukari tilted her head cutely, confused at his answer. So you were always with, stick up your ass? Yukari said, causing Sasuke to face palm. Naruto Nichan told me that. I'm not sure what it meant. The witch said while hitting her head playfully. Poke. Ouch Daizu. Yukari said as she rubbed her forehead. She looked up and saw Sasuke smiling at her. Don't let him corrupt you now, Yukari. Sasuke said as he eyed the girl in front of him. Yukari nodded with a grin, happy knowing that the Uchiha can be kind-hearted too. Sasuke was feeling quite content when he realized that she was not scared of him anymore. They then continue their work while chatting with each other, mostly about Yukari's old pranks. Sasuke listened to her and nodded with a smile. He sometimes gave her some ideas to prank Naruto, but also warned her about the consequences she may face if she decided to do it. Yukari giggled, knowing how serious Naruto is when it comes to pranks. Suddenly, they saw Mocha and Kurumu got out of the class with a blush on their faces. They kept walking, and didn't even notice Yukari waving at them. I wonder what happened Daizu. Yukari said with a finger under her chin. Who knows? Whoa what the datbayo? Naruto shouted as he looked at the Konoha in front of him. No, it's not like the village was destroyed or in ruins or anything, but the village looked rather cartoonish. He was at the village entrance when he finished his dimension crossing seal, and was immediately creeped out at what he saw. Maybe I did a mistake on the seal, bah. I guess since I was making it in a hurry. I probably stroked one of the kanji wrongly. He sighed. Suddenly, he saw someone moving behind him. He turned around and saw a misshaped, weird and disfigured-looking guy. Is that Sasuke? His outfit and hair looks the same. Well, kinda. Then he heard someone running. He turned again and saw another misshaped guy that wears an orange jumpsuit with a similar hairstyle as him. Well, not really similar, since the dude was disfigured. Sasuke plz calm back to Kana. Naruto shouted at Sasuke. Sasuke smirked. Well, if you could call that a smirk anyway. Naruto plz. I is going to Urushimaru and you can't stop mi. Mi will kill Itagi Ochihu. Sasuke shouted before running weirdly away from Konoha. Sasuke plz why you do this? I cree everything. Naruto shouted in tears. What the heck did I just watched? Naruto cried out, causing Naruto to look at him. You moos help mi go text Sasuke back to Kana. Naruto shouted at the blonde as it walked towards him. Naruto paled and quickly created 30 shadow clones. Create the seal. Now, I wonder what Naruto-san is doing. I bet he can convince the girls that I'm not peeking on them yesterday. Sigh. Tsukune said as he walked towards the school. Mocha had avoided him this morning, saying that she doesn't like perverted guys and doesn't want to talk to him anymore. Of course Mocha was not serious. She was only planning to not talk to him for a while. He asked Sasuke about Kurumu, but he said that he didn't saw the girl. It's partially your fault for not defending yourself properly, Sasuke said as he walked beside the shorter boy. Tsukune looked at him and frowned. But Sasuke-san, you know it's not my fault. I'd never do something like that. He said to the Uchiha. Sure, but don't expect me to help and defend you. You must learn how to stand up for yourself too. The black-haired teen said as he turned to look at the human. Tsukune sighed and nodded. I guess you're right. Meanwhile, Yukari was walking beside Mizore, not like the ice girl was going to school anyway. The witch rather liked the girl since she had helped Naruto and her set up the prank on the swimming club, even though it failed. And you know, Nichan said that he stabbed one of his students' butt because the boy disobeyed him. Yukari said joyfully. She still remembered all the stories Naruto told her before and decided to tell them to the purple-haired girl. Mizore looked at her and nodded. Maybe I should learn how to stab people butt with ice too, especially if it was somebody who would steal Naruto away from me. The ice girl said emotionlessly as she sucked her lollipop. Yukari's sweat dropped at her response. Suddenly, they saw Gaine talking to some girls. Isn't that Jin-senpai? The witch mumbled as she looked at him. May I ask you girls something? That dude Tsukune and Mocha are always together, are they by any chance dating? Gaine asked the girls with a charming smile. I'm not really sure, but they don't really match, do they? A blonde girl said. Yeah, Tsukune-kun is too normal. Mocha-chan has the kind of beauty that even charms other women. A black-haired girl said in agreement. But listen, I heard some rumors that people saw Mocha-san kissing Tsukune-kun on the neck. They might be dating, her friend stated. It would make more sense if Sasuke-kun was the one who dated her though, he's so hot. They would make the perfect couple. Both of the girls squealed. Kissing him on the neck? Gaine suddenly clutched his head. Gah, no way, you've gotta be kidding me? The male screamed, causing the two girls to look at him weirdly. What was that all about? Yukari said as she tilted her head confusedly. Mizore just stared at the scene passively and walked away. It had nothing to do with her anyway. It doesn't concern me or Naruto. She whispered to herself. Hey, wait for me Mizore-san. After school. I should apologize to Tsukune-kun, I'm sure he didn't mean it. Kurumu said as she walked down the school hallway after the classes had finished. And I didn't get to meet Sasuke-kun too. I forgot he was in different classes with me today. Well, it's my fault for waking up late I guess. The succubus sighed. Suddenly, she saw Gaine talking to Tsukune. She slowly got closer to hear what they are saying. Yo Tsukune. Today club activities will be held outside, why don't you come with me? The senior said. Tsukune nodded suspiciously and followed him outside the school. Why didn't Senpai invite the others too? I guess I'll see what they are doing. Kurumu thought as she slowly followed them. Outside? Isn't this just the back of the school? Are we really having our activities here? Tsukune said to Gaine. Haha, don't you worry. Everybody'll be coming soon, the senior said happily. They continued to walk until they reached a place with many boxes. Haha, we're here. This is the place Tsukune-kun. Here, look over there. There's a little window up there. Why don't you take a peek inside? Gaine said while pointing at a small window. Why? Tsukune asked confusedly. It's not gonna bite, just take a look. It'll be interesting, he said with a grin. Tsukune reluctantly stepped on a box to peek inside. He looked inside and gaped. There are many girls changing while chatting with each other. He could even see some of them rubbing each other's breasts playfully. Tsukune suffered a minor nosebleed and quickly turned towards Gaine. Senpai, this is. Snap. The girls' changing room tilde. Gaine said after he took a picture of Tsukune peeping. He took out the picture he just took and showed it to the human. Peeping is a crime Tsukune-kun tilde. And the photo evidence has been taken. If Mocha-san sees this picture, she's probably gonna hate you forever. Gaine said with a smirk. Senpai, are you trying to frame me? Please delete that picture. Tsukune yelled. Suddenly he heard the girls inside the changing room screamed. Kya, did you just hear boy's voice outside? Tsukune immediately paled while Gaine's smirk widened. Ain't you adult? Of course they gonna find out if you yelled like that. Later Tsukune-kun, he said as he suddenly run away in an inhuman speed. Kya, there he is. The peeper. There's the peeper. The girls shouted after they saw Tsukune outside the window. The human quickly broke into a run, knowing many of the girls had already started chasing him. Whoa no, why does this stuff always happen to me? He thought as he ran away from the horde of girls that were chasing him. Suddenly, he felt someone lifting him up. Am I flying? He thought in panic. Tsukune-kun, it's me Kurumu. The succubus said slowly. Tsukune looked up and found Kurumu in her succubus form flying while looking at him worriedly. Kurumu-chan, I swear I didn't do it. I didn't peep on the girl. Yes, I know that. I saw Gaine-senpai tricking you just now. Don't worry, I got your back, Tsukune-kun. She said with a grin. Now let's get away from these girls, she said before flying even faster, ignoring the human's terrified scream. Night. Rooftop. Ah, so this is where you are, Mocha-san, Gaine said as he approached the pink-haired girl from the back. Mocha turned around to look at him. It's evening already. Look, it's a beautiful full moon tonight, the boy said to her while pointing at the moon. Jin-senpai, hey, did y'all heard about Tsukune? I heard he was peeping on the girls while they're changing, he said with a smirk. But I don't think Tsukune would do something like that, Mocha said hesitantly. She had heard from some other students about it, but didn't really believe it. Suddenly Gaine chuckled and showed her the picture he took. I don't know who took it, but this picture has been going around the school, he said. Mocha took the picture and was shocked. This is a picture of the peeper. Gaine smirked. He slowly wrapped his arms around Mocha's shoulder. Keep quiet about that picture to Tsukune. It's so pathetic. Mocha-san, just forget about a guy like that. Mocha looked uncomfortable with him being close to her. Tonight, I'll console you? Suddenly he hugged her tighter, causing her to panic. Jin-senpai, what are you doing? Mocha said as she tried to push him away. What, am I not holding you tender enough? No, you just felt me up. The vampire tried to push him again, to no avail. Haha, well, it is a full moon, isn't it? On nights with full moon, I'm overcome with a feeling of power and I suddenly lose all control. So just give in to it. When I go wild, my sudden urges just make me go crazy, Gaine said as he tried to kiss the pink-haired girl. Stop, Mocha shouted before pushing him away, hard. Gaine's back was smashed against the wall, causing him to spit out some blood. I saw her cleavage. Tsukune is my precious person, so I'm waiting for him. Rather than believing this picture, I want to believe in Tsukune, Mocha said determinedly. Haha, are you serious? How admirable. I'm falling for you harder and harder, Mocha-san. Suddenly his body changed and his gained fangs. But I told y'all, right? That on nights with a full moon, my self-control weakens. His body changed further and his skin becomes furry. His eyes was darker and he also gained claws. When my emotions excite me so much, I suddenly lose control over myself. His true form was finally revealed. A werewolf? Mocha thought in fear. Now, I'll make you my woman by force, Mocha Akashia, the werewolf said before dashing towards her. Wait, they both turned around and saw Kurumu dropping Tsukune on the ground, both glaring at Gaine. Weren't you captured by the girls? The werewolf said angrily. Kurumu-chan rescued me, Tsukune said as he prepared to run at Mocha. Yeah, I saw it. I saw Jin-senpai called Tsukune over and after that, I saw him make Tsukune peep. Kurumu shouted. How dare you interrupt our special moment, back off. Gaine shouted as his stance became more ferocious. He let out a howl before glaring at Tsukune. I gotta save Mocha-chan. Before he could rush at him, Kurumu quickly pulled his collar. Wait, Tsukune. A werewolf and a vampire are both equally strong monsters. I doubt Mocha can defeat him. But her words were ignored as the human bravely dashed towards the vampire. Don't even think you have a chance, idiot, Gaine said after he tripped Tsukune, causing the human to fall. He stepped on the human back, making him wince. Now scram. Crack. Gaine was sent flying after being kicked by Mocha's true form. He shakily got up and glared at the girl. Inner Mocha looked at him and sneered. So you think you can defeat me? HMPH, as a werewolf like you could even defeat me, the vampire said while glaring at him. But the werewolf paid no attention to what she said. Ha 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 ha, awesome. Even after transforming you are still hot, Mocha-san. Marry me, Mocha-shwan. Gaine cheered happily while covering his big werewolf nose to prevent the blood from coming out. Kurumu and Tsukune sweat drop while Mocha continues staring at him. That's it, you're dead, Mocha said with a smile before suddenly delivering a painful roundhouse kick to the werewolf. Gaine managed to spun mid-air and landed on the ground safely. I saw your panties, he said happily while rubbing his bruised chin. Mocha's eyebrows twitched and she dashed at him again. But I'm ready now, Gaine smirked before he vanished. He vanished? Tsukune said worriedly. What an incredible speed, Kurumu said. They heard someone laughing, and turned to see Gaine leaning on the railings. Inner Mocha glared at him. If a vampire's power is strength, then a werewolf's power is speed. He said before dashing at Mocha, hitting her several times. Tonight, the full moon is shining as brightly as ever. On the night of a full moon, a werewolf is invincible. The werewolf said as he continued to hit Mocha repeatedly. TCH, Mocha gritted her teeth as she tried to block the attacks and lessen the damage. So this is the speed of a werewolf, she thought. I must wait until the clouds block the moon. He will be slowed down during that period of time. Mocha managed to grab Gaine's wrist and spun it, causing him to wince. The werewolf growled and quickly released himself using his super speed and attacked her faster and harder than before. Damn it, why are there barely any clouds tonight? I only need one blow to defeat him, but this guy is too fast. Mocha thought. Wait, I see a pattern here. He always hit my arms several times first. Then he will hit my leg once, wait for it. When Gaine tried to kick the vampire's left leg, Mocha smirked and stepped on his foot. Gah! Gaine quickly moved away from her and growled. Hey, you're strong, but this time I'll go all out. He suddenly fell into a low stance and dashed way faster than before. What the? Mocha couldn't finish her thought as she was punched in the stomach by the werewolf. She quickly did a backflip and panted. He is way stronger and faster than before. The vampire thought. Is he smiling? Kurumu said as she looked at the werewolf. Tsukune looked at Gaine and saw that he was wearing a wolfish grin on his face. It has been a long time since I last fought like this, y'all, no? Gaine said, his voice actually rather carefree, not perverted like before. Show me all you got. That's all he said before dashing on her again, hitting the vampire in a speed faster than lightning. He then continued to attack the girl in numerous places while dodging all the strikes that was made by her. TCH, now. Mocha shouted ANMD pushed the werewolf away, causing him to slam on the door to the rooftop. He quickly got up, no sign of injury being made. Not bad Mocha-san, but you already lost. Fire style. Great fireball jutsu. Gaine quickly got away from the door that just exploded. They all looked towards the door that was in flames and saw a figure walking out from the flames. Sasuke-kun, Kurumu shouted with a huge smile. Not bad, your speed is admirable. Sasuke said mockingly. How about you test your speed against me instead, senpai? He said mockingly. Tsukune grinned, knowing that they have a bigger chance of winning with Sasuke here. TCH, Mocha said before falling on her knees. Tsukune and Kurumu hurriedly rushed to her to check her injuries, while looking at the confrontation between Sasuke and Gaine. Hey, you think you can defeat me? They don't call me, rabid dog, Morioka for nothing y'all, no. Gaine said before vanishing and appearing in front of Sasuke. Now die. He swung his claws, but was kicked by him before it could hit. He then tried to hit the Uchiha in a tremendous speed, but was blocked and countered each time. Your arm is open. Your stance has many holes. You really think you can even land a hit on me? Sasuke smirked. Impossible. How can he block all my hits? Even that vampire couldn't do that. Gaine thought in alarm. You are fast, I'll give you that. Probably faster than most enemies I fought before. But I fought a guy that is faster than you. Suddenly he glared at the werewolf. Plus, I can't forgive you for hurting my friend, so consider yourself dead. The werewolf noticed that the black-haired Uchiha left eye had transformed into red-colored ripple-like pattern with Tomo's. Almighty push, Sasuke whispered. Suddenly an invincible force hit Gaine, sending him crashing to the railings. Hey, too bad for you, I'm in a bad mood. Sasuke said as he put his hand inside his pockets. I'll finish you quickly, senpai. The Uchiha said with his famous smirk. Now, let's begin. Sakura-chan tilde? Sasuke said hello. Naruto said as he suddenly hugged Sakura Haruno from behind, causing the girl to hit him on the head. Naruto baka, stop doing that, Sakura said with a sigh. Naruto just gave her his famous grin, prompting a small smile and a faint blush on her face. But Naruto couldn't help, he hasn't seen her for a long time after all. Geez, stop surprising me like that. And what are you doing here? I thought you were having a sleepover at the Uchiha district tonight? Sakura asked confusingly. I already traveled for months but the time barely advanced here? It was about afternoon when I and Sasuke were sucked into the seal. Now I think it is about 9 o'clock. So it was only about 8 hours had passed here. Naruto thought with a sweat drop. Oh, maybe it'll be easier if I explain this in the Hokage office. I want to talk to Kakashi-sensei anyway. Hold my hand, Sakura-chan, Naruto said. Sakura quickly held his hand, not even doubting her longtime friend. In barely a second, they were already in front of the Hokage's desk, and saw Kakashi giggling like a schoolgirl while reading the new Icha Icha Rewind, written by Jiraiya's successor Naruto. Who knew the blonde had it in him? Naruto, I told you not to publish that stupid book, Sakura said as she rubbed her temples. But Sakura-chan, I get good money from that, y'all, no? Training with Fuinjutsu had improved my writing skills, Naruto said with his hands behind his head. Sakura put her hands on her hips and smiled, because she admit that the book was good, not like she would tell anyone she read it. They both then nodded at each other and faced the giggling pervert who was skipping his work. Kakashi-sensei, Shizune, I promise I already did my work, Kakashi Hitaki shouted, terrified. He calmed down when he saw that it was only his students. My beloved students, what do you want in this fine evening? Kakashi said while giving them his eye smile. I'm not sure, Naruto told me he wanted to talk about something. Sakura said while looking at the blonde. Well, me and Sasuke was experimenting my new seal when. The Jinchuriki then proceeded to explain the dimension crossing thingy to them both. After a few minutes, he was finished. That's a lot to take in, Kakashi said after hearing what had happened. You baka, don't be so careless again, you hear me? Sakura said as she grabbed Naruto's collar. What would happen if the seal malfunctioned, or? Sakura, that's enough, Naruto can take care of himself now, Kakashi said with an eye smile. Naruto chuckled and slowly hugged the girl. Hey, I missed you too, y'all, no? He said with a genuine smile. Sakura nodded and flicked his nose. If you say the time between the dimension are different, shouldn't you be going to your new friends by now? She said. Naruto widened his eyes and quickly created 10 shadow clones. Well, thank you for reminding me, Sakura-chan, he said, and his clones quickly drew the seal. After a few seconds, it was finished. Naruto, don't worry about Konoha. We can handle the things here. Enjoy yourself now, okay? Kakashi said as he waved his hand. Sakura hugged him and smiled. Don't forget your friends here too, she said with a grin. Or maybe I should go with you. Never mind, I'll be going now, see ya. Naruto quickly sent some chakra to his feet and the seal glowed brightly. See you soon, Sakura-chan, Kakashi-sensei. He gave them another wave before he vanished. Geez, that baka, Sakura said as she smiled at the place where Naruto had just been. Now let me read my book in peace, okay? Kakashi said before continuing to giggle like a schoolgirl. The medic looked at her sensei and smiled sweetly. How about you stop reading porn in front of a girl, Kakashi-sensei? Shannaro. That's all she said before breaking the Hokage's desk, much to Kakashi's horror. This is the 4th time you break the desk this month. What will Shizune say? Universal pull. Gaine was immediately pulled by an invincible force, and his face met Sasuke's fist. He was trying to do the hit and run technique on the guy with his extraordinary speed, but for some reason he kept getting pulled and was hit by the Uchiha hard. Sasuke then grabbed a fistful of Gaine's furry head and threw him, causing the werewolf to be sent crashing to the wall. The Uchiha deactivated his Rinnegan and slowly walked towards the downed Gaine. Is that all? He said with a sadistic smirk. Before he could move further, however, Mocha suddenly stopped in front of him and looked at the Uchiha over her shoulder. I'll finish the guy, the vampire said before advancing towards Gaine. The werewolf can already see birds flying in circles around his head. Suddenly he saw an angry Mocha standing in front of him. Am I in heaven? He asked with a smile, although his broken teeth made him look rather creepy instead. He shakily stood up and paled at the look she was giving him. No, but I'll send you there now, Mocha said stoically before delivering an extremely powerful kick, sending him flying to the air. Mocha and tilde. The werewolf cry was heard all around the school. The vampire smirked and turned around to look at the Uchiha, or rather, if a certain blonde was there with him. Looking for Naruto? He's busy at the moment, Sasuke said with a smirk. Inner Mocha blushed slightly and looked away. I didn't say anything about that Uzumaki, she said while still facing away from him. Tsukune and Kurumu slowly got closer to Sasuke and Mocha. Sasuke-kun, you were awesome back there, Kurumu said as she hugged her destined one. Tsukune was looking at Mocha nervously, probably wanting to give her the rosary back so she can return to her outer form. Suddenly, a bright light emitted from the air above Mocha, and Naruto Uzumaki came out of the light and fell down on the vampire. When Naruto woke up, he realized both of his hand was grabbing something soft. Ah, so soft? The blonde squeezed his hands, and he suddenly heard someone moaned. Naruto immediately paled. Don't tell me. He looked up and saw Inner Mocha glaring at him intensely with a huge blush on her face. He squeezed again to confirm his theory, and the girl moaned again. Hello, red-eyed Mocha-chan. The Jinchuriki gulped when he saw Mocha cracking her knuckles. Know your place. Meanwhile, Sasuke was looking at the scene with a smile. Kurumu was preventing herself from laughing while Tsukune was chasing Inner Mocha to stop her from reaching and beating the shit out of the terrified blonde. Hey, Dobi.
That's all for now. If you want to see next part, then please like this video and subscribe my channel. Thank you.